Yes, good evening. Okay, Ms. Spalomo.
Here.
Ms. Carrero.
Here.
Mrs. Gandhi, no. Mr. Hyatt.
Here.
Mrs. Jankowski.
Here.
Mr. Lolansky.
Here.
And Dr. Miskowitz. And Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Draw your attention to our agenda just to get us started. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Sunshine Law and the Open Public Meetings Act, and adequate notice has been filed with the newspapers, the Asbury Park Press, for this meeting. Statement on videotaping. For public portion of the Board of Education meetings, this meeting will be taped, and it will be available for public viewing on our website. Please note that our security personnel are also wearing body cameras, and they will record any and all interactions with any security personnel. Public comments, there will be 2 public comments opportunities today, one at the first part of the meeting and one at the second part of the meeting. And we do this pursuant to our board policy of 0164 and 0167. And then finally, because we are on school grounds, we have a policy regarding no smoking or vaping, and that includes both inside the building as well as outside the building. So we ask that you adhere to those policies. I now would like to ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I understand our middle school students are going to help lead us through this tonight. Go right ahead. I allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get started with our agenda. I will ask for Mr. Malone to start us off with staff kindness certificates.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I think this is our favorite part of the board meeting. We will begin with our staff kindness certificates. For those of you who are new to this or need a little refresher, we recognize staff members, also students as well, and we'll see that a little later. But in this portion, this is in recognition of staff members who, put simply, go above and beyond, go the extra mile. They're recognized by, they could be recognized by their colleagues, by parents. I guess even students could recognize some staff members as well. So if you're listening online, or if you listen to this later, or if you're here in person, and you want a staff member to be recognized at a board meeting, just send in a simple email. Let us know a little bit about what that staff member has done to go above and beyond. Being that this year we are focusing on the theme of kindness for the year, we have labeled them kindness certificates. So that's just a little bit of background on how we get to this portion of the meeting. And for starters, I do have several here, so that's actually a good problem to have. But bear with me. I will read the names and the event in pieces, right? So we'll kind of group everyone together. The first, we actually have 2 out of Marlboro Middle School, but we have the first group of employees out of Marlboro Middle School. When I call your name, if you wouldn't mind, you can come up and stand up here so everyone can see you. And then when I finish reading the names, we can give a nice round of applause, and then we'll present you with your certificates. This first group of people, we would like to recognize our MMS mental health professionals, school nurses, and vice principals. So we have a bunch of people coming up here. Their hard work, care, and dedication makes a real difference in the lives of our students and staff. They listen, support, and show up when it matters most, helping our school be a safer, healthier, and more supportive place for everyone. We truly appreciate all the time, energy, and heart they put into our school community. This actually came in from a parent at Marlboro Middle School. So I would like to recognize Allison Burkhart, Caitlin Carroll, Veronica DePinto, right there. Yep. Nicole DiGeronimo, Lauren Gabler, Jody Gerard, Jenna Gracie, Michelle Hunt, Vice Principal Jim McCann, Amanda Napolitano, Veronica Nunez Ayala, Lori Reel, Jacqueline Sabo, Vice Principal Eric Tagenhorst. Mrs. Nowaki, maybe a picture? I know, she's digging for her phone. Let's give them another round of applause while we're waiting for the photo. Thank you to our first group. Our second group is also out of Marlboro Middle School. And this is an excerpt from an email received from a parent. We would like the board to recognize several exceptional staff members at MMS whose recent efforts made it possible for our child to participate in the school's sports program in a truly remarkable way. Their actions exemplify creativity, collaboration, and unwavering commitment to inclusion. This year, our daughter bravely tried out for the MMS cheerleading team after gaining confidence and skills she acquired through a special needs cheer team. Being supportive parents, we encourage this, despite anticipating the outcome of a competitive cheer squad selection. After seeing how disappointed she was, together the school developed a role where our daughter was able to contribute to the team in a way that celebrated her interest in the program. This small, unexpected conversation and out-of-the-box thinking reinforced some very powerful messages of teamwork, community, empathy, flexibility, and advocacy. As the cheer season concludes, we couldn't leave without expressing our heartfelt gratitude to Mrs. Kirsten Triozzi. Come on up. Eric J. And Mrs. Nowaki, the principal. Thank you all for your outside-the-box thinking. That must have been really special. Okay. Julie Mazzone, can you please come up here? You are being recognized also for a kindness certificate. I'll read your name first. You're the only one. Although none of my children are in Mrs. Julie Mazzone's class this year, she continues to greet them daily and genuinely asks about their day. Her kindness and sincerity are extraordinary, and her character reflects everything a parent hopes their child will encounter throughout their school day. She is always smiling and warmly welcoming every parent and student she meets. She certainly deserves recognition for her bright spirit, encouragement, and consistently positive attitude. And this also came in from a parent. So thank you, Mrs. Mazzone.
Someone get a picture?
Yeah, someone needs to get a picture.
Thank you. I don't carry your phone.
Al's got it.
Oh, okay.
Just so that you don't have to like.
Yeah.
Thank you again. And last but not least, I'm sure he's going to love this as well. Paul Spano, please come up here. And he loved it so much that he's not here. No, he's keeping our lots clean, but I will read about him, and we'll make sure we get his certificate to him. A quick shout out to Paul Spano and his team for the repair on the MMS gym unit. It is now fixed, and the room is comfortable, which wasn't an easy fix. The guys worked hard and kept administration in the loop. It took 3 days to complete, but without our 2 HVAC techs, we would have been down for much longer. Thank you, Mrs. Nowacki, for recognizing Mr. Paul Spano and our Buildings and Grounds team. Let's give him a hand. And that concludes our staff kindness certificates.
Thank you, and congratulations, everyone, on that recognition. It's a very powerful statement on the work that you do and the sources of those recognitions and where they come from. So thank you, Mr. Malone, to everyone for doing the work that they do. Mr. Spano's probably getting ready for the Sunday storm. I don't know if anyone's listened to the weather yet, but they're predicting now, what, 8 inches on Sunday? Just saying. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is student impact and recognition. Mr. Malone.
Great, thank you. At this point, I'd like to welcome Mrs. Nowacki, principal, and you can introduce Marlboro Middle School and our student impact and recognition coming out of your middle school.
How we doing? Just want to say, as principal of the middle school, it is just fabulous to see so many of our students, so many of our staff being recognized tonight. It really speaks to everyone who is here this evening. I really truly believe it takes all of us to make an awesome school. And to the parents and to our board members are here, I hope you know that middle school, as in all of your schools, is a great place for kids to be and for staff to work. Let me say that. It's also pretty awesome to have an evening this evening where we can recognize our middle school students and staff for work that they have done. So good evening, Mr. Cohen, board members, Mr. Balone, staff, and our community. Thank you for inviting us to your meeting so that we can share a little bit about the wonderful things that are happening at middle school. Tonight, we will highlight 3 projects and their outstanding work in promoting kindness, school spirit, and the larger community. That is certainly our theme for this year. First, our nurses, Mrs. Gabler and Miss Greasy, will tell us about the Healthy Futures Club and their upcoming blood drive. Next, Dr. Sabo will share some amazing work being done by our student leadership team, our Hawks. We want to acknowledge Hawks and the Healthy Future Club and our PTO, who recently collaborated on a toy collection to benefit children at a local children's hospital. This is an example of working together to benefit others. And finally, Mrs. Barrington and Ms. Lawson will wrap things up by sharing some exciting news about our art students and their participation in the Monmouth County Fair Housing Calendar Art Contest. We would like to present certificates to our kind and hardworking students at the end of each portion of our program. And so now I'd like to introduce Nurse Gabler, Nurse Greachy, and also Dr. Sabo.
Good evening, Mr. Cohen, Board of Education, Mr. Balone. Thank you, Mrs. Nowacki, for inviting us to speak tonight. On behalf of the Healthy Futures Club, we are very excited to share some of the things that we've been doing so far this year. So just a quick background, this is our 3rd year in the Healthy Futures Club. Jenna and I started this 3 years ago as a way to try to incorporate something fun, after school, meaningful for kids to do that kind of focus on something hands-on exciting, life-saving skills, things that really make an impact, things that are important to know, but also a way to get involved in the community.
So this year, so far, our students have learned CPR, learned bleeding control for life-threatening bleeds, how to use an EpiPen for anaphylaxis, and we had a visit from Marlboro EMS where the students got to learn from the EMTs and explore the ambulance.
We have 2 big projects that we are working on, and we are hoping to have support from our local community.
On Saturday, March 14, 2026, from 9 to 3 p.m., we will be hosting our 3rd annual community-wide blood drive. Our last 2 blood drives collected enough blood to save 339 lives. Now it's our time to ask our community for support as we aim to have even more donors this year. Every 2 seconds, someone in the U.S. needs blood, yet only 3% of eligible donors actually donate. Blood donors help save lives of those in need. Examples of those in need include premature babies, patients with cancer, victims of accidents, or those with sickle cell disease.
While the real prize is saving lives, we like to keep the Healthy Futures Blood Drive fun and exciting. Anyone who comes to donate blood will also have a chance to be entered into raffles for some amazing prizes. As of now, we have generous donations of gift cards and gift baskets from local businesses that will be raffled off to blood donors. A huge thank you already to the Pickled Herring, Toast, the Marlboro Diner, McDonald's, Old Silver Tavern, Sculpt Atelier, Turning Point, and Mr. Subs.
Here's a picture of what our blood drives poster will look like. And there's one more picture. As you can see on the board, you can look at the pictures from last year's blood drive and the past coming blood drives.
We will also be handing out to everyone here tonight. We have a poster with a link to sign up to our blood drive. We are really hopeful that we'll get some more community involvement. We have a lot of slots that are still open that we really need filled. So if you can take this flyer home with you, and please, please, please consider signing up, spread the word. We would really love to have community support for our blood drive. We do have a second community project that we're working on this year. This is a joint venture between the Healthy Futures Club, the PTO, and the MMS Hawks. So with that, we will turn it over to Dr. Sabo.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jackie Sabo, and I'm a school psychologist at Marlboro Middle School, and I also have the privilege of being the advisor of our Hawks leadership team. Oh, I don't know what happened. That's okay. I could do it without the presentation. They're going to pull it back up. HAWK stands for Helping All with Kindness and Support. Our HAWK's leadership team is made up of dedicated students across all grade levels who give up their lunchtime to meet and discuss ways to improve our school community while supporting our character pillars. Throughout the year, our HAWK's members lead a variety of projects that promote kindness, inclusion, and good citizenship across our building. Each November, our entire school body votes on a citizenship project they feel passionate about. The Hawks leadership team then develops an actionable plan to promote and support the selected cause. In previous years, students have collected items for the Monmouth County Animal Shelter and donated to the Ronald McDonald House. This year, our student body selected pediatric cancer awareness as their cause. In response, the Hawks team partnered with the Healthy Futures Club to support an initiative collecting toys for children at Robert Wood Johnson Bristol Myers Squibb Children's Hospital. The toys collected will be used throughout units in the hospital. The Hawks have worked to develop ways to spread awareness, and in the upcoming months will sponsor a school-wide Spirit Week, make morning announcements, and organize the creation of heartfelt greeting cards to be donated along with the collected item. The Hawks and Healthy Futures Club have linked the wish list of Amazon items for our drive here in case anyone is interested in donating and supporting this cause. I'm so glad that some of the Hawks can be here this evening. These students truly exemplify leadership, compassion, and kindness, and I could not be prouder of their efforts. I think at this time we're gonna write. So at this time, we're going to call up some of the students who are able to be here tonight. And I think our Hawks are going to go first. Jaden Chang. Ella Dassey. Hi, Jade.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia DeGalbo. Juliana Elsis. Ishanth Reddy Kalari. Melina Kalumis. Pranati Malagu. Ganesh Matam. Victoria Matassa. Natalie Nicholson. Grace Shen. Ava Swanson, Anunathi Vadia, and Leo Zinna. Thank you all. I am so lucky to have you as part of the Hawks. Thank you, Stevie. Sorry.
And for the Healthy Futures Club, we have Rylan Abbott, Ben Kaplan, Grace Shen, and Leo Zinna.
Sure. You want to bring them all up? We can. You want to have them here so you can have the screen behind, or you want to do it on the side? Okay. Why don't all of our recipients of those certificates come on up and take a picture for the group picture.
Thank you. And for the second portion of our program this evening, we'd like to invite Mrs. Allison Barrington as well as Mrs. Jenna Lawson to come on up to the microphone.
Thank you. So we made a quick video just to show you guys a little bit of what we do in the art department at MMS, and also to show you the artwork that won for the Fair Housing Poster Calendar Contest for this year. So as you guys saw, out of hundreds of entries, we actually had 8 winners from Marlboro Middle School, which ended up being almost half of the calendar, which was pretty cool. So if you want to, yes.
Okay. We are so happy to be here today honoring our amazing art students for their contributions to the Fair Housing Poster Contest. As art teachers, we strive to create classrooms that are a safe place to be creative and try new things. In addition to our classes, we also offer a digital art club and an art scenery club, where students can continue their exploration of the arts.
We're very lucky to have supportive administrators who believe in the arts as much as we do and help us bring our students' artwork beyond the classroom walls. Encouraging students to enter contests outside of school is a great way to build their confidence and explore art making in a new way. We would like to invite some students up to tell you about their experiences in art as well as their experience with the Fair Housing Poster Contest. So first, I'd like to call up Jasmine Ibrahim, who was the grand prize winner. She won the overall poster contest. She is the cover of the calendar, and she'd like to say a few words.
I'm really grateful to be here today and be the grand prize winner. It feels amazing. I want to thank Ms. Farrington for helping me get through the process, and I want to thank my parents for always encouraging me to express what I strongly believe in. Fair housing means a lot to our community, and it helps us. Thank you.
And now I'd like to call up Maya Perlberg.
I enjoy creative arts because art is a big part of my life, and being in creative arts allows me to explore different mediums and learn new skills. Being in creative arts also gives me the opportunity to connect with other students who have the same interests as me. I am really glad that I had the opportunity to participate in this contest. When I learned that my poster was selected to be in the calendar, my family celebrated since they were extremely proud and knew how much effort was put into my art.
So now we'd like to give certificates to our students who are here tonight, who are part of the Fair Housing Poster Contest. And additionally, I'm going to have them, we'd like to offer you the calendars in which their artwork was displayed. So my students who are here tonight, Jasmine Ibrahim, come on up. Yeva Kazak, come on up. Rishan Mutha, come on up. Maya Perlberg, come on up. And Noah Texera, come on up. And would you guys take the time to have your calendars out to the board? Is Noah here? Oh, he wasn't in school today, okay. And these are our calendars, so we'd like to hand one out to all of our board members. You guys want to hand it out? You want to hand one? You good with that? I'll give you a couple. And we also have some extra calendars if anyone would like them. Thank you. And we just want to, thank you. Lots of calendars. And we just like to thank all of you for your support and congratulate our amazing students here tonight. Thank you.
So that concludes our presentation this evening. Once again, thank you for having us. Can we have a big round of applause for all of our students and staff here today? Really is a pleasure to work at middle school with all the very talented staff and students that we have. So thank you very much. And again, that concludes our program. But students and parents, don't leave yet because we want to take a few pictures. So thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. This is absolutely amazing. And what a great keepsake for us to sort of remember all that great work and to the students who did such a spectacular job. So congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing that. Mr. Malone, we have artwork on display.
Yes, the artwork on display, as we've been doing in the recent past, is showing that as you're coming in. But thank you again, Ms. Lawson. These are from your applied art classes. Their 6th grade is inspired by Matisse. Matisse's use of geometric and organic shapes. 7th grade students are inspired by Farr's use of color and radial symmetry. And 8th grade students, Wiley's use of pattern and portraiture. Collectively, the artwork reflects students' creativity and personal expression. Again, thank you, Ms. Lawson, for providing that work for us.
So later in the agenda, actually in announcements, we actually have recognition for Robertsville's Team Turtle. And since we want to do all the students together, we're going to move that up and take care of that now.
Okay, so we're actually bringing Team Turtle back. So just a little explanation for those of you who don't know who Team Turtle is. Team Turtle was here several months ago, and they were part of the New Jersey School Board's Steam Tank Challenge. So students from across the state compete, and they come up with some kind of idea to, save turtles, or some kind of innovative way using STEAM and all of their expertise, and their teachers help to try to solve a real-world problem. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Giarratano. This is the principal of Robertsville Elementary School. He can reintroduce his students.
Thank you. Following middle school is a tough act, so. So Team Turtle, I watched them last year for the 24-25 school year as 5th graders work tirelessly with Mrs. Bono during their lunchtime, during their recess, and continue through the summer into October right before their presentation. So like you said, they were invited to present at NJSBA in October. They placed 3rd in that competition. During the first 2 months of school, Mrs. Bono, who is here, had given up a ton of her personal time to make sure that the girls were working through their problem and making sure they had expertise from people in the field. And it was a really amazing thing to see between the relationship of student and teacher. And they did see a problem. They saw that turtles were getting caught in fishing nets, and they designed a contraption that helps turtles and the fishing industry, so community and animals. So I'd like to bring up Arya Kadakia, Hamsini Kusamanchi, and Orum Son to receive their certificates. Great job, former students. And thank you very much for having us again. And $1,000. I did have that down.
Congratulations. I was there for their presentation when they made that, and I can't remember when I was in their grades whether I would have the confidence to stand up in front of an audience of people and present and sort of, defend my paper. It's just absolutely spectacular. So congratulations to all of you. Okay, and while we are on our school recognition and our school opportunities, we have the middle school is going to, Marlboro Middle is going to do a PTO update. So please come on up.
Yeah, that is a tough act to follow, but thank you, Mr. Malone and the board, for inviting us to come and speak tonight. It was so nice to see everybody, so many get recognized for all the awesome things that go on at Middle. My name is Lauren Deanna, and I am the PTO president over at Marlboro Middle School. I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about the MMS PTO. First, on behalf of our board, we did want to thank our fabulous principals and our amazing staff and administration, as you can all tell. as well as our parents of our middle school students, really for all their efforts throughout the school year. And it's not only their willingness to collaborate with us, but it's their enthusiasm. The energy they all bring makes it such a pleasure to be a part of this PTO, and we truly are so fortunate at MMS to have such an amazing amount of support, and it's really because of that effort and participation that we're able to do all the things that we do. You know, I know one question we got at the start of the school year from a 6th grade parent was, you know, what does the PTO do at middle? You know, should I get involved? What does that look like? And of course we said absolutely you should get involved. But there are really so many ways to contribute. You know, whether you have a 6th grader just starting out or an 8th grader getting ready to graduate, there is a place for you here, from decorating bulletin boards and beautification to assembling or putting up blockograms, organizing fundraisers, helping out, you know, at a free outdoor movie night or any of our different student events. You can volunteer at our walkathon, chaperone a dance, help plan or serve at one of our staff lunches. There really is something for everyone. And the kids, of course, are a little bit older and middle, and we are all about supporting their needs, and it's really amazing because at this phase of their lives, they really begin to lead activities, and they have these fresh, amazing ideas, and we're always there to support and work with the teachers and the staff in supporting them, you know, whether it be collaborating with student council or the Healthy Futures Club. We're just grateful to be able to help however that looks. So speaking about some of the things we do get to do, we just wrapped up the year and had a pretty busy and fun December. We started off the month with our week-long Scholastic Book Fair. The kids got to shop during literacy period, and we had free poster raffles each day and some fun raffle baskets up for grabs at the end of the week for the kids and staff members. We also had our 6th and 7th grade events. Our annual 6th grade event was at Urban Air this year, and our 7th grade event was at Top Golf, which is always a crowd pleaser. Those events both took place on the half days during the week of parent-teacher conferences. So the kids had a great time. You know, they got a half day, they got to hang out with their friends, so it was a win-win. We also partnered with the Healthy Futures Club on the toy drive for Robert Wood, which is still going on, right? So it's not too late. You can still donate. They're still collecting. And we were also able to give back to our students and staff right before break with some sweet treats. We scooped out ice cream in the cafeteria. The kids got to make sundaes during their lunch period. There were sprinkles and crushed Oreos everywhere, but it was definitely worth it. Even middle schoolers, they're not too cool for ice cream, and they were excited. So we were also able to treat the staff to individually boxed duck donuts. Who doesn't love donuts was our thought, and I know they really did enjoy them. And speaking of donuts, we also, last month, we kicked off our 8th grade fundraising and planning festivities for the class of 2026. We had a Krispy Kreme donut fundraiser. So as you can see, we're all about equal opportunities for donut lovers. Duck Donuts, Krispy Kreme, you know, they're both good. And just to speak to that for a minute, all the money we raised on the Krispy Kreme sales will go directly towards our 8th grade class. Every year we form a committee of parents, and this group helps plan and lead all of the fun activities in store for our graduating kiddos. We discuss the 8th grade class gifts and graduation, and of course the dance that they all look so forward to. We hire vendors, we plan fundraisers because we need to pay for it all, but it's a lot of fun. Anyone with an 8th grader can join. We did have our first meeting last month, and we have about 30 parents on the committee, but it's not too late to join in. We have our second meeting next week, Thursday the 29th. It's virtual, it's in the evening. We really do have a good time planning, and I do encourage anyone listening to reach out if you think it's something you want to help with. It's such a bittersweet time as a parent, and being able to be a part of something that's so special to these kids really is awesome. Okay, so just a couple more things we have going on at the moment, and then I'll wrap it up. We currently have our Valentine's Day Graham fundraiser going on. You can send your student a churro, courtesy of Chartwell's, and a pack of Nerd Gummy Clusters this Valentine's Day. If you're interested in buying, you can check it out on our website. And we also have our annual Valentine's Day contest coming up. That'll be up and running pretty soon. We have student contests throughout the year. One of our awesome parents always does something really fun. She usually sets up a festive table in the lobby. Last year it was like guess the number of Hershey Kisses in this huge container. And then there's student prizes like crumble cookie or a t-shirt, some kind of swag, something like that. So remind your kids to submit their guesses. There's some surprises, lots more stuff planned for the spring, so stay tuned and continue to check out our weekly email blast on PT Board. So yeah, this is just a small snapshot highlighting a few of the things happening recently. Thank you for inviting us to present, share updates, and celebrate all the fun and meaningful work we are lucky to be able to do at the Marlboro Middle School. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, and thank you for, this goes for all of our PTOs and our PTA, for all the work you do, because that commitment to our students and our schools, quite frankly, it leaves lasting memories, and I love the creativity with the Valentine's Day stuff. That was just really awesome, so thank you very much for that, and thank you for making this a great, year for the 8th graders, but also for all the other grades at MMS, so thank you. Okay, no more for the, so we're going to give everyone a chance to sort of, take some pictures and leave. So I'd like to make a motion that we take a recess for 15 minutes. Actually, we'll start with 10. How's that? So carried. All in favor? Thank you. We'll take a recess. Everybody else does? Mr. Linsky, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, okay. Ms. Guerrero?
Here.
Mr. Hyatt?
Here.
Mrs. Jankowski?
Here.
Mr. Lalansky?
Here.
Mrs. Belomo?
Here.
And Mr. Cohen?
Here. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get started with the next part of our agenda. We're going to begin with public comments. Before we do that, Mr. Balone, can you explain the scan here for everybody?
Sure. So we're trying something new. We're trying to do a few things. Bring us, as we move closer to the 22nd century, you can certainly scan the QR code for this evening's agenda electronically. Most people have a smartphone when they come to the meetings, so that's just an easily accessible way to do it. We also were realizing that every meeting we were throwing a large amount of paper away. You can see the agenda sitting over there. That doesn't mean we will not be printing them to meet everyone where they need to be met. We will have printed agendas for anyone who needs one. We're just going to significantly cut down the amount of agendas that we print, so we're not throwing as much away. We will have some of the attachments as well. I know there was a comment made at the last meeting regarding that, so those will also be found at the table. But when you enter the building through the front doors, if you do not need a printed agenda and an electronic one will suffice, you can certainly scan it through the QR code. So that's really the reason. We're trying something new, and we always reflect on it, and we'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, we can go back, but it looks like it's working today, so we'll move forward.
Thank you also for, I think the appendix are there too, printed appendix?
They are.
Ms. Borenstein, I want to make sure Ms. Colby, I want to make sure you got them, so they're there as well. And again, as Mr. Balone has said, it's an experiment. If it works and it saves us printed copies, great, and people like to have it on their phone, that's, a benefit for them as well. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start with public comments. Mr. Linsky,
yes,
hi. Do you have a list to call?
I do. I have actually two lists. I think the first list might have been students that thought they had to sign in, but Rasheen Mather, Lauren, Diana, and Cheng, I apologize if I can't really read the writing, Cheng B. Lee. Okay, so those must be students.
There's a sign-up sheet in front of students, and they will sign it.
Okay, so then we have Val Mendez.
Good evening. Oh God, that's loud.
Good
Board
evening.
members, Mr. Balone, Mr. Gross, and Ms. Shalinsky. Hope you all had a nice day today. A couple of things that I just wanted to cover, and if I can't fit it in 3 minutes, then I will come back for the second round. But just a couple of the things with the policy. So as somebody who was on the policy committee for my term, which was extremely enjoyable, I love the policies so much, a couple of things that I'll be coming with. So I know we had our final meetings. When I was on the board, we had one even up into almost the day before Christmas Eve to go over some of these. So, and we had some good productive meetings. But a couple of questions, if you could remind me. So in the first one, 9130 is public comment, complaints and grievances. It references regulation 9130. A couple of things on that. I didn't find regulation 9130 out on the site. I was looking. 9130 does detail the steps for anybody who's interested in, if somebody has questions or concerns regarding materials, there's actually a process that you could follow that will tell you how to kind of take up that complaint or grievance and how you should escalate it to the superintendent. And so I didn't see that regulation there. I did search. It could have been called something else, but I did look for a reg, so you may want to just look that one up. I did do extensive searching on that one. I didn't see it. Same would go for, I know, policy 2535, which is titled Library Material, which is coming up for first read this evening. It references, from the Freedom to Read Act, it references a regulation 2535. Regulation does not exist today, And so I'm not sure if you're going to be writing that regulation and then putting it out, but I just wanted to say that that one isn't out there either, but maybe there's a plan for that. I know when we had our policy committee meetings, we did talk about parental oversight. Mr. Cohen, we had some really good conversations, I want to say, around that. And I know you and I did align on making sure that parents remained, and Mr. Balone was there as well, that parents did remain at the center of everything that their children are doing. And I know in one of the meetings we asked about a portal of some sort, or how parents can have a level of oversight into what their children are checking out. And I know Mrs. Gross said she had some ideas of things that we could do and put in place. I just wanted to know kind of, that just happened in December, that meeting, so I just wanted to make sure where that was going on that front. And so those are my questions so far. The regs that didn't exist, the portal for parental oversight. I have 22 seconds, so I'm just going to say this, and I will come back if needed. Two things. One is on policy 5516, which is the use of electronic communication and recording devices. We had looked at that policy in the past, and I know that former Governor Murphy had passed a cell phone ban, and I know some people had come up here and asked us about banning cell phones before. I'll take 2 more seconds and I'll come back again. I just wanted to say that, just a reminder, as people start getting a little like, what are we doing with the cell phone ban? We already have it in a policy, 5516, that cell phones are not allowed in our schools. And so I just want to make sure that our parents have the right to send their children in with cell phones, and that it's only at the teacher's discretion, as long as it can be used for a lesson, that kids can use it. So I just want to make sure that we're careful when we talk about the cell phone ban. It's already a thing in our school that kids can't use it in 5516. And I'll come back with my next question later. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez, and thank you for taking the time to come out tonight. You were absolutely right as far as the conversations we had in December, very late in December, about 9130, 2530, and on 2535. And I thought the conversations on 2535 were great, and we were very well aligned on making sure that there was parental involvement. If I remember correctly, I believe Ms. Gross had mentioned that our library system actually has the ability for parents to be able to see into what their students are taking out. And I guess the question will be, how does that get proliferated, or how does that get communicated? So it's a good point. And I do believe I remember that the discussion on 9130 and on 2530, as far as regulations, they had to be developed. Yes.
Sorry, I'm enacting that 1 minute thing. Yes, and I know that there was, I think some of them had to be developed. I just wanted to say one thing on the regulations. For regulations today, they don't have to go, for anybody who doesn't know, for first and second read. And so during my time when I was the chair of the policy committee, Mr. Lalansky, Mrs. Bolomo at the time were there on the committee as well. We would bring regulations forward at times to the board, not for like a vote, but just for awareness. And so you may want to consider that. Though they don't have to go to the public, I would bring them and talk about them to the public in some of the meetings, especially when it was a topic that I thought would be something that was important. So I ask, I mean, I'm always looking on the site anyway, but I ask, could you please have the, consider the regulations, at least awareness for our community members that maybe aren't as well versed with our district website and how to navigate that. I think it's helpful because it gives a lot of clear instruction, more than a policy, which is a little bit more broad. That's it.
Thank you for bringing that forward and for making me aware of that past behavior and the past practices. I appreciate that. Go ahead.
I'm just confused. I know we're going to talk about this later, but the regulations haven't even been developed yet. How are we going to voting on a policy that, I know we don't approve regulation, but we're approving this policy based on we read a regulation and we know what it says. But how do we approve these policies if the regulations are not?
As I understand it, the policies inform the policies inform regulations. So you would pass policies so that they have a policy to develop the regulations under. There's state law that sort of informs the policies, but the policies should inform the regulations. Is that correct?
So it's okay to approve this without seeing it first.
Yep. Okay, we have next.
Yes, next is Jen Woodruff. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay. No problem.
Thank you.
And then I have Basem Hana.
Nope, maybe another student.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak?
Okay, seeing nobody else, motion to close public comments. Mr. Hyatt, second. Ms. Carrero, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on with the agenda then. We are up to announcements, so I will check off our first item, which was the Robertsville Team Turtle. I was really glad that we moved that up. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the board vacancies. Ms. Jelinski?
Yes. Okay, so we have a board vacancy right now, and we have gone out with the public notice to let everyone know that if you're interested, you can apply via either email or mail. The application would consist of a letter of interest and a personal resume, and it could be sent no later than noon on Monday, January 26th. So that is the deadline, and then after we receive all the applications, the board will conduct public interviews with the candidates, and the person will be appointed for a one-year term at the February 3rd meeting. So, any questions, please reach out. But yes, we'll be taking them by email or mail. So, thank you.
Thank you. I also want to thank you for sort of expanding the ability for people to apply, which is not just only dropping off an application in person, but also the email capability. You know, in today's day and age, that's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to make sure when, going forward that we change it up and add those options whenever we can. So.
Thank you. And I do encourage as many people as possible to please, to apply for this vacancy. This is it's a real volunteer job, and it's got a lot of, value that we bring to our community and to our students. So it's very appropriate that the next item on our agenda is actually school board recognition. So I will read this. Since this is School Board Recognition Month, the New Jersey School Board Association has declared January 2026, as they have done for many, many years prior, to be School Board Recognition Month, a time when all residents can acknowledge the contributions made by our local school board members. So I will read the whereases. Whereas the New Jersey School Board Association has declared January 2026 to be School Board Recognition Month, a time when all residents can acknowledge the contributions made by our local school board members. And whereas the Marlboro Township Board of Education is one of 581 local school boards in New Jersey which sets policies and oversees operations for public school districts. And whereas the Marlboro Township Board of Education embraces the goal of high-quality education for all New Jersey public school students, and whereas New Jersey local school boards help determine the educational goals for approximately 1.4 million children in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, and whereas the New Jersey's 5,000 local school board members who receive no remuneration for their services act as advocates for public school students as they work with administrators, teachers, and parents for the betterment of public education. And whereas school boards strive to provide the resources necessary to meet the needs of all students, including those with special needs. And whereas the boards of education provide accountability to the public, they communicate the needs of the school district to the public, and they convey to the school administrators the public expectations for the schools. And whereas New Jersey can take pride in its schools, which rank among the nation's best in key achievement indicators, such as the National Assessment of Education Progress scores and the preparation for college through advanced placement offerings and SAT assessments. Now therefore be it resolved that the Marlboro Township Board of Education does hereby recognize the services of local school board members throughout New Jersey as we join recognition statewide in observing January 2026 as School Board Recognition Month, and be it further resolved that the Marlboro Township Board of Education urges all New Jersey citizens to work with their local boards of education and public school staff toward the advancement of our children's education. So I want to thank thank you. Yeah, that's okay. I want to thank all board members who have served past, present, and future for their work in this, because this is such important work that we all do, and for those who will sit in these seats ahead of us. So it was very appropriate that this follows the board vacancy, so thank you very much for that. Ms. Jelinski, you have the next item, which is school bus driver. Do we need a motion for it? Okay, so then we'll take a motion for this. Motion to adopt this resolution. Mr. Hyatt, have a second. Mr. Lulansky. Full roll call? Ms. Jelinski?
Okay. Okay. Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Jankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lulansky?
Yes.
Mrs. Palomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carraro?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, school bus driver and building abstracts.
Yes, so we have run the abstracts for all of our bus drivers and all of our building maintenance personnel, and everyone was found to have privileges in good standing, so.
Thank you. Let's keep with your
Okay.
flow. We've got referendum update.
Referendum, okay. So I have an update on the referendum. So the district received the funding. So we received the $5.3 million. It was put in our bank account on December 23rd. So we're ready. So we're currently in the design phase of the project. Myself and Mr. Spano will be reviewing design development with the architect and the engineer on February 2nd, right before the completion of the construction documents, so that'll complete those. The project has already been approved by the DOE. So once the construction documents are completed, we're going to solicit the bids, so we'll go out for bid. Bids are projected to be due back to the district and opened on March 24th, and we're hoping to award the bid at the April 7th, 2026 meeting. Once the bid's awarded, we anticipate some of the work to start in the spring, late spring, after hours. Maybe some electrical stuff, some stuff in the ceilings, so that when the equipment comes in, we can go full blown in the summer. The final completion of, like we've been saying, is not anticipated to be completed in 2027. But everything's on schedule the way that we planned it. So we're good to go.
That's great. Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Jelinski on the referendum? All right, moving on along. So we were up to communications. Mr. Balone.
I don't have any communications.
Thank you. We have superintendent's report, HIB.
Yep, superintendent's report, HIB, for the period December 12, 2025 through January 15, 2026. There was one incident reported.
Thank you. The meeting dates. Our next meeting is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. That'll be a workshop meeting. We will review the budget at that point. Yes. Tuesday, February 24th, 2026 will be a regular board meeting. Then on March 10th, 2026, which is also a Tuesday, we'll have another workshop meeting. And then on Tuesday, March 24th, we will have another regular meeting. So that outlines our next 4 meetings of the board. I will move on the next item, which is the approval of the minutes. We have minutes that were submitted for the December 16th meeting, both regular and exec, and on the January 6th meeting, both reorganization and executive session. Do we have to move on on these minutes separately, or can we move on them together? So I move that we adopt them.
Because it's one from the previous year.
Yeah. So let's move to, let's do the first motion is to move the adoption of the meetings for December 16th, 2025. Can I have a second? Second? Ms. Carrero. Ms. Jelinski? Any discussion on the minutes? Thank you.
All right, this is for the December
16th, 2025.
Yes. Okay. Mrs. Jankowski?
Abstain.
Okay. Mr. Lolansky?
Yes.
Mrs. Palomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero?
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes. Okay. Now I'll move to adopt the minutes from the January 6th, 2026 reorganization and executive session. Can I have a second? Mr. Lewanski. Any discussions on the minutes for this meeting? Seeing no discussions.
Okay.
Ms. Julinski.
Yep. Mr. Lewanski.
Yes.
Mrs. Belomo.
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero.
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt.
Yes.
Mrs. Jankowski.
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Ms. Julinski, we're going to do the acting board secretary's monthly certification.
Yes, this is just, this is just certifying that all the accounts are in good standings.
And the same for the payroll certification?
Payroll certification, it just states what the payrolls were for the month of December.
Thank you. We are up to committee reports. This was a policy committee from last year that met, I think, on December 23rd. Mr. Balone, will you be doing this update?
Yes, I can do the update for you. So we last met on December 23rd. Prior to that, it was December 17th. We focused on the Freedom to Read Act policies that were discussed before, 2530, 2535, and 9130. We worked through the Freedom to Read Act, and those policies, as you know, are on for first reading this evening. And I think that was the lion's share of the work, and that was the discussion for that meeting. And I also had some notes for the cell phone, the new cell phone law. As Ms. Mendez reported, we do, I don't even like to call it a cell phone ban, because we're not banning cell phones from schools. We're just saying that cell phones are allowed to be in school, right? That's every parent's right to send your child in with a cell phone. They're just not allowed to be out during instructional time, or, on our buses in the hallways when, you could be taking recordings, pictures of our students or teachers or any other staff members. So without the express consent of the teacher, right? So if there's an instructional use for a cell phone, if you want to take a picture of maybe a closure activity or do now, and the teacher allows it with permission, then there's an appropriate use for cell phone or any other electronic device to enhance the instruction. But we don't have a problem. I'll say that broadly, right? When we do have issues with cell phones in classrooms, we address it. It's a classroom management issue, and our teachers do a really good job in doing that. What we find, generally speaking, is it's the 17-hour students are outside of our buildings where a lot of the cell phone issues happen with students. And when those teachable moments arise, we address them, and we address them in partnership with our parents. So even in the new law, there's a provision where if there's a safety and security issue, that cell phone's allowed to be brought out and dial 911, right? So any student can do that. And I would encourage any student to do that should we have some kind of issue in school, safety and security. So nothing really is changing for us. Business as usual. There may be some little, we probably should look at the policy to make sure some of the language and definitions are in there, and any updated explanations or language, but nothing of substance really would change the way we practice our day-to-day operations.
Mr. Balone, if I remember correctly, I think the policy committee actually did begin to look at 5516 last year in anticipation of the change in the law, and just to see where we sat. And there is some needs for some updates to that. If I remember correctly, I think there are things like, quote, beepers that are still in the, right, there were beepers, there were I think personal wearables now I think are covered in the new law. So we have to make sure that the law is reflective of that. But I do remember that there were some things in there that we needed to update. There were also, I think that policy was written in the consideration of also being broader, like for high schools, because we don't have students that leave who are part of emergency response teams.
Right, there's a section for like an emergency responder that they're legally allowed to leave, and so we don't really have that, right, because we don't have anyone driving here, so it doesn't apply to us.
It's on the Thursday
Mhm. Okay, thank you. And you, for clarification, you said our current policy, not necessarily a ban, but restricted use, I think, not necessarily your word, my words, class, school, and buses?
Yes.
Okay. And teachers do classes. Who does buses?
Drivers.
The drivers?
And they're enforcing that. I've spoken to the transportation coordinator recently, and, sometimes it's an innocent, the child just wants to watch something or listen to something. The problem with that is, and oftentimes the behavior is controlled, right? When a child is watching a video, but the problem is, all it takes is one to be listening to something inappropriate. We have, young ones on the bus along with some older ones. So, your children, our students, are in our charge from basically door to door, right? So we are responsible for them when they leave you at your home, and we're responsible to get them back to you safely. And in order to do that, we have to uphold our, restricted use of cell phones, including on buses.
May I ask a question about the cell phone use on the buses? So if a student has a cell phone on a bus and the bus is running late, or the substitute driver made a wrong turn, would the student get reprimanded for calling their parent and saying, I'm going to be late, we made a wrong turn, or there's construction? Are they permitted to do so, especially if a parent's waiting at a bus stop?
So, I think we use common sense with that as well. If as long as it's not abusive and there's a real need for it, right? I have no problem with that sort of thing happening. What we can't have is, no, I'm innocently watching this YouTube video and there's nothing in it that's bad. That's hard to control, right? It's hard to control what's bad for one, what's good for someone else. But if our job, and I know, sometimes there's no gray in policy. Sometimes it's like you either can or you can't. Our job, I know life doesn't always fit into that perfect box. Our job is to prepare kids for the real world. Is that the real world? I think it is, right? Telling a parent, I'm going to be late, even though, oftentimes, I know we had it today. We had a delayed bus. We went out, bus 107 is going to be late. I have no issue with that, right? So I think we need to use our discretion on when it's appropriate, when it's not. If we teach our kids the appropriate time to use a cell phone, I think, and they adhere to that, I think we've won. It's when they use it inappropriately, or maybe innocently, but then something pops up and it's audible for someone else to hear, particularly a younger student or someone who gets offended by something they hear, right? It's not even on their phone, but I heard something and now I'm offended. That's a problem. And that could happen anywhere. It could happen to any of us in real life. So as long as we teach that digital citizenship, I think we're doing the right thing. I know that was a long answer, but I hope that answered your question.
Does that something, so that common sense approach, right, of, because the policy is black or white, does that common sense approach get laid out or articulated in some way within the regulation?
So I can take a look at what our regulation looks like, and I can even work with our transportation coordinator, and then we can bring it back to the policy committee for discussion. But that's, just where my head is right now in thinking of that real life example, because that could happen. I don't see an issue with it, but I certainly can look at that.
Yeah, because I would equate that to almost like a 911. It's important, it's an emergency, you need to let somebody know so they don't panic or worry. And then the other thing is, and I believe the new law does address it, which is the use of cell phones for students who have medical necessities. Yeah. So that shouldn't also be of a concern for our parents or our families. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Ballone on the policy committee work or the policies that?
I have a couple things.
Yes.
First, I want to begin by saying thank you for taking that common sense approach. I was very concerned with the cell phones. When you read bells about ban, I know we've had several conversations about this in the past, and I thank you for staying true to the conversations that we had in the past, that the children will never be completely devoid of a cell phone. Obviously, we've been in the, around kids for a long time, having kids in the district, and I never see the kids out with their phones, and I think you do a really great job of controlling it as it is, and there's really not a need for any of these kind of escalated measures. So thank you for taking that approach. I appreciate it. Where I wanted to open up some discussion was around the library materials and the Freedom to Read Act, because the way that the policy is currently written, we've framed our position as a reactive position instead of a proactive position. And I believe that only addressing a process to assess or challenge books after the children have been exposed to the material places parents in a position of defense, and it leaves students vulnerable, especially in our youngest grades. So as we move through this policy, for me to get to a place where I would feel comfortable approving it or voting yes to it, I'd like to ask the board to direct our policy committee as well as administration to bring back revisions to policy 2535 that explicitly address age-appropriate access, parental transparency, and the proactive safeguards, because our current policy only reacts after the harm of exposure to the materials has already occurred. I want to be clear about my position. It's not about banning books. It's about it's not about restricting ideas. It's about our responsibility as a Board of Education to ensure that age-appropriate access to library material and the respect to parental rights, both of which are already acknowledged in the policy, but in terms of how a parent can react if there is material that they're not comfortable with, that their child has already been exposed to. I support the idea that children have the freedom to read, and I fully support the MTPS libraries and librarians. I believe that some of the work our media lit staff does is the most impactful and resourceful to our children. While I support viewpoint diversity, I also support developmental appropriateness. And it's our duty to make sure that the freedom to read does not mean unrestricted access for every age group. I've seen firsthand that the freedom to read is often cited as a reason we cannot act, but both the Act and Policy 2535 make a very important distinction, and limiting access based on developmental appropriateness is not censorship. Policy 2535 explains how a parent can challenge a book, but where do we see these books before our children check them out or have them in their hands, have read them for an entire class, or have taken them to do their schoolwork? There's no proactive review for sexualized content, and there's no required age banding. So just going by what Scholastic recommends, I've seen books that are labeled as young as kindergarten through 3rd grade that have sexualized content that I wouldn't be comfortable with my 5-year-old having their hands on. So how do we proactively make sure those books are grouped in an age-appropriate subsection? I don't think it's appropriate for the burden to be entirely on the parent. And once the child has already encountered the material, there's really nothing that we can do as a parent other than call it out. But how do we get in front of that and make sure the kids don't ever have that material in their hands? The real question before us is how we'll handle books containing highly sexualized material that are currently marked as appropriate for our K-8 students. And how do we retain the final authority that age-based limitations are permissible and legal, and this is not a gray area. So I'd like to just ask Mr. Blown and Mr. Cohen how we plan to distinguish between what is appropriate and what is not. And it is not appropriate to review a policy and vote on it without a clear understanding of how it will be enforced. So that's the discussion that I'd like to open up publicly, is what are our, some of the points I'd like to discuss today are, is there going to be clear grade band classifications? Is there going to be sections of our media centers with restricted access or relocation for sexualized content? And for parent visibility into our library inventory by grade, all of our books are scanned in. I've worked in the library. I've seen the libraries in the elementary schools. I know the books get scanned in and scanned out. So how do we document that into one place where parents can go on and see what materials our libraries hold before their children, maybe even during, open house or before their children enter the schools, maybe part of the Genesis forms that come in the summer, we can take a look at an indexed inventory of the books that are going to be in our children's library. And then how do we have a proactive review process and not just a complaint after the fact? If we see these changes reflected in the policy, then I would have absolutely no problem voting yes to a policy that protects our library material and our children's freedom to read. But I would like to have those discussions before we do so.
Thank you. Mr. Bloom, would you like to comment to some of the library operations pieces, I think, that Mrs. Bellomo raised, sort of the classifications, how are they classified, how are you doing classifications? how do you sort of setting up sections for maybe restricted content? You know, she references the scanned in and scanned out, but it's also, you know, the practices of how you would potentially provide this in a proactive way to parents during the beginning of a school year. Can you comment on any of that?
So we mentioned before, I know Mrs. Gross is looking into our, giving parents a window into what is contained in our library, so I will certainly come back to you with that. I think, so there was a lot there, and I was trying to take copious notes, which I think I did pretty well. I would suggest and obviously this has to go back to the policy committee, but Mrs. Belomo, I think it would be helpful if the rest of the policy committee agrees. I think it would be helpful to look at the current proposed policy 2535 and offer some suggestions for us so we can look at all of them and take it back. I'll leave that up to you, but you know, I was trying to write down everything that I was hearing, but you know, it's a 5-page policy, so I don't want to miss anything, and I want to make sure the policy committee has a good, healthy discussion about all of your points. So when we bring it back, you know, at least they can be addressed. That would be my suggestion.
Sure, that's no problem. I could actually send this. I did look at every page of 2535, and, you know, because it is for a first read. So that's kind of where I got these points from, because I felt that the policy was devoid and, like I said, reactive instead of proactive. So what I'll do is I'll put this into an email and I'll send it to the policy committee. And then, you know, there's some bullet points here that really pull out what I felt was missing. And if they want to consider it, then and bring it back for a vote, that would be great.
Yeah, and if there's substantial changes, we'll just put it back on for first reading.
That's great. And are any of those points that you made, some of them may actually be captured in the context of the regulation rather than the policy, or do you feel that they're all policy related?
You know, from my time serving on policy, I think the policy is obviously a broad overview and framework of what we would like to see in the regulations lie more with Mr. Balone. But in order to approve a policy, it's nice to see how the policy would be enacted. And I know we use the word transparency a lot, but the true definition of transparency is what is the policy and how are we going to see it enacted if and when it is necessary. So just a broad understanding of what, like I said, how are we going to age ban these books? How are we going to have restricted access? Because some content may be appropriate for a 6th grader, or a 5th grader rather, but not my kindergartner or not a 3rd grader. So where can we have those books live that those children can have access, but the kindergartners don't just walk in? Because I think that's, and I don't have anything to do with the day-to-day, but that's a lot to ask a media lit teacher when they have 25 kindergartners come in to, like, you know, look through every single book that they have in their hand and make sure they're doing this or doing that. So if there's one section that's kind of just off limits, that may be something that, you know, is easier to maintain on a daily, you know, on a daily basis. So I don't know the ins and outs of how Mr. Balone wants to instruct his staff or write his regulations, but just seeing everything would give us a better understanding and a better level of comfort approving a policy. At least that's my opinion on it.
I actually had some concerns about the policy. If we're going to continue the discussion now, is that okay? Are you okay with that, Mr. Cohen?
Yeah, I mean, we
Okay.
normally would have done this during the section on policy but you know, we're having the conversation, so I think it's healthy.
Okay, so when I looked over the policy in A, B, so section A, letter B, developmentally inappropriate, for me, that's like a slippery slope, like what that actually means. I know Ms. Balone talked about certain ages, what's good for a kindergarten is not good for a 5th grader, and I completely agree with that. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that in elementary school, you have students that are maybe a 2nd grader reading on a 4th grade reading level, and I actually had this conversation with the school librarian, who was amazing, during parent-teacher conferences, that, you know, although we want our children to be challenged, so reading on their level, because then their reading level won't go up if they continue to read below level, but then monitoring that if they're a 2nd grader reading on a 5th grade reading level, the book itself might not be mature. So we think that there's a lot of concepts, not just sexually inappropriate, just concepts in general that, that just might be technically on a child's reading level, but not appropriate for them to know. So I think I encourage conversations between parents and teachers regarding that. I think what's difficult is that piece that parents are not, and I didn't realize this, I didn't realize that we didn't have an online catalog that parents can log into. I know a lot of schools have them, like the Destiny Quest library catalog, which is amazing, where they can go on and say, you have library on Thursday this week, let's start looking for the books, maybe even sending an email. I think that's a really important, vital thing, because if you look at letter C under B, so B, subsection C, which is also under C, subsection 2, a parent and guardian.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
So it's this kind of the same thing in two places. So in section B, subsection C, and then in letter C, number 2. So it says, parents, guardians retain the right to monitor their child's use of the library and guide their own child's access to instructional library materials in accordance with policy 9130, which I agree, and I really appreciate including the parents on this. But as a parent, how are you doing that? What tools are we giving the parents to actually do this? When the Scholastic Book Fair happens, they send that paper copy home of most of the books there, and you can go online if you do an e-wallet. I mean, I go through it. I literally write on an envelope, do not allow her to buy these books. I don't want her coming home with these. I even cut out a picture of the book. I put it on, so it's a picture guide for my daughter and the PTN helpers that give their time. So in those little ways, parents can help. But in regards to a vast library, and the media specialist is only one person, I think that we need to give the parents more, such as a Destiny Quest library catalog, that they can preview books.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I had, I think Ms. Mendez mentioned it when I went to letter D, removal request procedure, regulation 2535. That wasn't on there, but I'm told that it comes after the fact. It's just weird to vote on something that references something that you can't reference in order to vote on it. And then, one more thing, Mr. Cohen, I'm sorry. Keep your pen handy.
I'm just trying to keep up.
I'm sorry, I'll repeat. So,
no, I appreciate
yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm just trying, and unfortunately, we can go back and re-listen to the video, but
So
I'm just trying to keep up.
Section B again, but now subsection F. It says it requires the superintendent to establish a procedure for a school library staff member to review library material within a school library on an ongoing basis. What is that procedure that I'm voting on? Like, what does that entail?
I guess my interpretation of that paragraph is that you're not voting on the procedure, you're voting on the requirement that the superintendent establish a procedure.
Okay. So I guess the procedure comes after the vote?
That would be the regulation.
That's the regulation. Okay. I'm just trying to understand the order. Okay.
That's my interpretation of that.
Gotcha. Okay. Those were the questions and concerns that I had. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback.
Brian, can I go?
Did you want to respond back?
Just something relevant, I think. So thank you both for that good feedback. I think it's worth mentioning, though, so a lot of this has to do with the masses, right? So, and we talked about this at the policy committee, right? An entire school, or, you know, all of the students affected. If, as a parent, you want to restrict certain books, as you mentioned, we welcome that as well, right? So a lot of this has to do with the student body as a whole. But if you as a parent want to restrict something from your child, you absolutely have the right to do that. So I just thought that was worth saying.
I'm sorry. I just know that when I spoke to the librarian at the parent-teacher conference, she was amazing when I brought this concern up. I mean, she got up and she started pulling books off the shelf. What do you think of these? What do you think of these? And to me, I almost felt bad because she was running around like doing all this stuff, but because I don't have access to the content, I could have done, I don't mind doing that myself. So I think parents really need to know what's in the library in order to guide their child. Therefore, we save a lot of time, during library, like, oh, I have my list, my mom, and we've decided on this book. I think it's just a very helpful tool.
Mr. Polonsky.
Thank you. First, I'm going to totally agree with Mrs. Balomo's concerns and Mrs. Jankowski's concerns. I'm not going to repeat them all. I came with almost exactly the same concerns myself. I'm just not going to sit and repeat them, but I'm totally in tune with them. I will say, though, I'm sure our library has a database for the books. They have to have it. Yep. So I'd like to see, at least in the beginning, I know searchable database might be a little harder to get online, but putting our database online is a click procedure. I don't know why that would take any time. That needs to be in this policy. The only way parents have a view and transparency of what they can choose a child to read or not read is if they know what's there. And it should be searchable, but if it can't be searchable week one, okay, I get that. But I would like to see that PDF online ASAP, and part of this policy that says it has to be updated regularly as the books are updated in the library, and made searchable if possible. I don't see why it couldn't be searchable. Anything online can be easily searchable and easily found on our website, not buried somewhere in our district website. I think there's enough here through all these suggestions that makes a substantial change to this policy once the policy committee looks at it. So I don't think there's a reason even to vote on a first read tonight. It'll be too big of a change. It has to come back as a first read again. There's just too much here.
No, I don't disagree with you.
So you're suggesting, like, instead of a web system, putting up like a written, like a PDF copy? So I think that's a great idea.
On our website,
like
and then make
the
it
database.
searchable.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Michael.
I don't have to go through 1,000 books to see if the one book I want to see is in there is there.
We already have a database, so like I said, I'm going to speak with Mrs. Gross about making it easier, or a parent-facing interface where we can have people at least search.
I have one more question, and this is just a question because I truly don't know. Actually, it's a two-part question. Middle school doesn't use the library to check books in and out. They don't have a media lit class per se, correct?
So they don't have a class, but they can still...
They can just go to the library and check books in and out. A lot of our materials now, I've seen media lit classes, and they're all really great, actually. But they use digital materials that are used in media lit. How are we handling those materials? It's not like a book, but it's like a supplemental that's used, as part of the media lit program, not literacy, but where can we access those materials that they see in class when they're using Chromebooks? That's not a physical book, but it is a, it's not it's not categorized, it's not on a shelf. That's part one. And then also, and again, I just truly don't know the answer to this. I know every classroom in K through 5 has a classroom library, and those obviously have the same materials. Those, again, they're not categorized. Is that something that possibly the teachers can review what books they have in their library or something before the students get? I know those libraries, people send in books, they just end up on the shelf. My kid read the book, I got a bunch of donations. But how are we kind of handling those materials?
I'll take the second question first because we actually did talk about that. And you're right, sometimes teacher has his or her own classroom library that is a sort of a compilation of many years of collecting books. A parent sends a book in, and they just amass them in many different ways. I had the same thing when I was a teacher. We discussed what that's going to look like, and that those also have to be explored, right? So any book that a child has access to grab in a classroom or in a library, we have to treat the same way. Now, a teacher's classroom library will not necessarily have a database, but there's going to be a lot of communication back and forth with building administration and the teachers to say, you have to make sure that we have quote-unquote age-appropriate books in your classroom. And if you don't, that could be problematic. Now, our teachers want to do the right thing, so we've already had that discussion. I've had that discussion with Mrs. Gross, and we're going to put a procedure in place to make sure that we have age-appropriate materials not only in our libraries, but in our classroom libraries as well. The digital content piece gets a little, so if it gets a little muddy in terms of if we're talking about an online textbook, that's easy. But we have other things like, I think of, digital resources like Achieve 3000, right, which has several different articles, thousands and thousands of articles. Is there a way to have parents see the article in advance? Technically, yes. If a teacher designs a lesson and they're reading an article, could a parent see that? So I will take that back for those are that I'm more concerned about those types of things where you have thousands and thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of possible articles to utilize in a digital program. I'm not so concerned with our digital textbooks because, again, those are searchable. But I'll bring that back to the curriculum team as well to, come up with a way, because I think that's a good point, right? We can't just have open access, to basically anything for students, and possibly have them exposed to material that they shouldn't be exposed to. Now, with that said, I know many of our programs do align with, grade level bands, but to Mrs. Jankowski's point, and this is a challenge that any teacher of reading, and you don't have to be an English teacher to have this problem, right? I would argue all of our teachers are teachers of reading. When you have an accelerated reader in your classroom, in your second grade classroom who's reading at the 5th or 6th grade level, you always have that issue, right? Because there's this balance between text complexity and age-appropriate content, and oftentimes they are on opposite ends of the spectrum. So that is always a challenge, and I know our teachers are hypersensitive to that, especially on that end, to make sure that we're giving kids what they need by way of text complexity, but also looking at the content within that. And I know our coaches do a really good job at the elementary level. Our ELA supervisor reads books constantly. If you've ever seen his office, you would understand. There are books everywhere. But that's always the balance, right? And that is a very difficult task. But I will bring more on the digital content piece where we have thousands and thousands of different articles that could possibly be exposed to a student. We'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
Hey, I just, get Jenna.
Oh, no, so, I mean, and this might be up to, but like as you're voicing your concerns, especially with yours, Carrie, Mr. Jankowski, I was thinking that especially with people who are above their reading level, now we get into different themes. So like I'm sure that some of these databases probably have like metadata of tags of like what kind of themes are in it. And if you get the list, like Mr. Lalansky was saying, that you can actually like start tagging what possibly could be offensive, say in your opinion, right? And then that can kind of go and get tagged as like a potentially sensitive, and people can opt out. Like, do you want to keep, do you want to be aware or, from that ban, or is your child okay to handle that theme, even though they're younger or whatever? So that's something that came into my mind. I like go immediately to like, how do we fix this? So I'm sorry if this is like, another thing I was thinking is that even with AI or like, and I automatically go to ChatGPT, you can take pictures of the books in the classrooms, and it actually catalogs things really well by identifying what texts are there. And like you could do like a whole bunch of books at once. It can lay it out. You can ask it for the themes, and you have a comprehensive list just like that to share with parents or whatever for that classroom. So that was just something else I was thinking that might mitigate some of like the concerns.
Thank you. Anyone else? I just want to share, I think this is a great conversation. We struggled with this policy when we were working through it. It took us a lot of time. And one of the things that was blatantly missing from 2535 that the policy committee discussed was the fact that there was no reference to parent or guardian role, and the fact that they had the right to, help guide their own students. So that was captured into this policy early on, and that sentiment has obviously been picked up around the dais, and I appreciate that as well. I also, to your point, Jenna, there are two, in my opinion, there are two forms of libraries in our schools. There's the library itself, and then every teacher has a library that doesn't necessarily get cataloged the same way the library systems catalog the resources that are in our libraries. And that's another point where I think it's extremely important that parents have some insight into what's in the classroom as well as what's into the library. So that was my other point. The third one is that we did spend some time when we were talking through this, because Ms. Gross was part of the conversation about the library system and its capability. And to my perspective from the conversations, they seem to be, it seems to be fairly a robust system that we do have, albeit, granted, I have not used it, but it sounds like it's a very robust system. It should have some of the functionality that we called out here, a catalog, searchable database. It should be some functionality that's there. Whether or not they've actually made it publicly available to our families, that's a question that needs to be answered. And quite frankly, we were very much in support as the policy committee last year to make sure that that was enabled. And we made sure that was captured here, but within the context of this. And then the last point I want to capture is that I think that the discussion around this table is great. It's exactly the type of conversations we should be having. And I agree with Mr. Lalanski that there's some substantial amount of feedback that informs the need for more work in the context of the policy, and we should not go forward with a second read. But we can do that when we read, we can do that when we do the vote. And I appreciate the fact that Ms. Paloma, Ms. Jankowski, Mr. Lalanski, Jenna, everyone brought this up, because I think this is exactly the kind of conversations we as a board should be having. So thank you.
Can I just say one more thing, just on a positive note to end? I know where my kids go to school, they actually have a program called Library Helpers where parents come in and help in the library. So I don't feel at all like the elementary school library is hiding anything, or that the doors are always open and we're always in there. The kids bring home books all the time, and the system is run really, really well. So bringing these suggestions to the table, I've seen the cataloging system. I don't really enjoy working in the library, but I have done it, and it seems like it would be easy, like Mr. Lansky said, to just get a printout in the beginning of the year or in Genesis. But I just wanted to add that our libraries, at least the ones that I've seen, are run very well by our media lit teachers.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Any other conversations on the policy committee report out, or quite frankly, what we have done so much in the discussion of these three policies? Okay. Seeing none. We are going to discussion number 2 on the budget.
Hello. Okay, so today is going to be budget discussion number 2 that we've had as a board. This is, for me, budget discussion number 1 up here. So, but we are going to start tonight with a little bit of an overview, and we're going to talk about 2 different departments tonight. And then as we progress through the process, we'll do more. So let's see how this works. Okay, so the timeline you've seen before. In December, we did some enrollment projections to kind of check class sizes and such. We started the budget discussions with the departments and the principals. We had a little presentation here. Now we're in January. We're continuing our discussions, starting to delve into each individual more. Obviously, we don't have state aid numbers yet, but right now we're just kind of status quo. kind of pretending that everything's going to stay the same to develop something. Going to continue into February, bringing you, we'll have 2 meetings in February. We'll bring more departments to you each time. State aid numbers usually are released the end of February, but with the new governor, we believe it'll be delayed. Whenever there's a new governor, it always gets pushed, so we're thinking 2 weeks into, so it'll probably be March. And then we'll have like a whole week or two to like get everything together, because that's what the state does to us. We're probably going to adopt the tentative budget in March. And then the public hearing will be April. So that's the tentative timeline for what we're going to do. And I always would like to talk about what the goals are, right? So what, as a district, what we want to do. So in this budget, Mr. Balone and I and Mrs. Gross, we've all kind of, Mrs. Sturcio, have come together to try to see what the goal is. And obviously, we want to maintain all our programs, right? We have a great district. We want to maintain our core subjects, special ed, related arts. Curriculum, we want to focus on what we've been doing with curriculum, even making it better. We want to support special ed. We want to continue, we have a growing special ed program. We want to continue it. Tech, hardware, security, all that stuff. I mean, it's in the background, but it's all very important. Network. Facilities, we have to maintain our facilities, right? Put the money in the facilities, transportation, the things that aren't, exciting, but the district has to put the money there. So those are our goals. Okay. This is just a little snapshot I wanted to point out about Marlboro. So the state of New Jersey does this taxpayer guide to spending every year. And they compare you with districts like you, which means K-8 as opposed to a high school district, and a district with, over 1,000 students or something like that. So those are our like districts. There are 73 like districts in the state of New Jersey that are a K-8 with, students like ours. So we just wanted to kind of point out, the first column are the state averages for our like districts, okay? And the second column is Marlboro. So cost per pupil, state average is $25.89. Marlboro comes in at $19,205. We're the 23rd lowest out of 73. So administrative cost per pupil, state average in 1960, we're at 1947, 25th lowest. Student to admin ratio, 145.8 students per administrator. Marlboro's at 179. So we do a good job with the administrative staff we have for the number of students we have. 8th lowest in the state for like districts. Faculty to administrator rate again. State average 16.3, we're at 19.3, 10th lowest. So I just wanted to point out to you how we really try to do a good job with what we have and with the resources we have. And, I know everywhere everyone's doing more with less. I mean, that's, in your pocketbooks at home, everywhere, right? We have to do that here too. With the economy and everything going, got to do what we can do. So I just wanted to point this out so you can all see. Now we'll get into a little bit about the departmental budgets. First one we're going to talk about is technology. So the goal of the tech department is to, obviously, I'm going to read this, I'm just going to talk, is to make sure that the staff have the devices they need to do their job. The students have the devices they need, in school to do the curriculum and the testing and all the necessary things. But he also has to deal with cybersecurity, the backbone, all the servers. So that's like tech's job. This budget, he's just really trying to maintain all of the services, the software programs, the phishing, you know, when they do like the secure the networks, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Email, security, all of that stuff. And then we'll go to the next slide and I'll show you specifically, I keep doing it the wrong way. Okay, so we're going to continue purchasing Chromebooks for the 6th grade like we do every year. 6th graders come into middle school, everybody gets, you know, a Chromebook, whether they take it home or at school, but everyone gets one and they use that for 3 years. So they take that Chromebook and they use it the whole time in middle school. We've been doing that every year, and we'd like to continue to do that each year. We're going to replace kindergarten devices next year. They've been using iPads for a very long time. We're going to transition to a Chromebook, but a touchscreen Chromebook. This way it'll get them a little bit used to, you know, what they're going to see starting in 1st grade. But they'll still have the capabilities of the touchscreen. We're not getting rid of the iPads, but this is going to be our start at doing that. We're completing wiring. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just do want to mention also, thank you for mentioning that. We've also visited other school districts who use Chromebooks with kindergartners, so we've vetted that. But we know full well that there are certain apps that, right, are just iOS apps, so we need iPads for that, and also in our special services department for our special education students, they require specific apps on the Apple platform. So, you know, we're not looking to get rid of them. We're just looking to enhance with a less expensive device and a device we know actually works with kindergartners as well.
Exactly.
So we're going to have charging cards for Chromebooks and charging cards for
Yep.
iPads, both in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's going to be included. You're going to tell us
Yeah.
all that.
Yep.
Okay.
We're going to include all of that, charging cards. And the cases. Cases are very important too, especially with kindergartners. So, wiring projects. So, over the past many years, our in-house staff have been rewiring our schools instead of getting an outside contractor to come and rewire with Cat 6 and Cat 6. So, we're nearing the end. So that has saved the district a tremendous amount of money having it done in-house.
Yeah, that I would like to commend our tech crew for doing that. It could be $30,000 to wire a building, and you know we can do it for a fraction of that. So I do appreciate them coming in. Tom Ennie and his crew, they come in when kids aren't here, right? Because sometimes they have to take the whole building down. So they're in over the breaks and weekends, and so you know they're working when everyone else is not. Or the majority of us are not, and I do appreciate that because they are saving us a ton of money.
Yeah, they even get some of the facility guys once in a while to come and pull wire. That's what they call it, pulling wire. That's all I really know about that. But we're also looking to upgrade some of the network switches in the elementary schools next year, but that's all pending E-rate funding. So, you know, we'll budget for it, and then pending, you know, budgetary guidelines, but it's all based on E-rate funding. You'll actually see some resolutions, actually less, on the agenda tonight regarding E-rate, and I'll explain them later. And then, of course, maintaining software subscriptions, technology, and that kind of stuff. And then this is just showing, right now, we're thinking the tech budget's going to be close to $1 million. And the increase this year is we've factored in now the staff devices. We bought at the end of last year. We did a lease purchase agreement for those. So this will be year 2 of the staff devices. We're going to be purchasing kindergarten devices and upgrading of the elementary switches. Now you can see of all the whole tech department, 34% of that budget goes to staff and student devices. So. The repair maintenance? No, that's all in-house. Yeah, part of it would be in equipment because that's the actual wires, and then the actual salaries are not in the departmental budgets separately. So, repair maintenance are like might have a maintenance contract with a printer company or something to come in and repair things as they go. So. But yeah, no, the salaries are never in the departmental budgets. Those are in district-wide salary budgets.
Does this, how does this compare to last year in spend?
It's up. It is up. It is up. I don't know this.
You can get back to us, it's okay.
Yeah, I'll get back to you, but yeah, I'll have specifics, but.
And I know at the end of, I think it was in June, it was either June or July of last year, we approved a resolution and a purchase for new devices. I think it was a leasing.
Yes, so that's the staff devices.
So that's already, is that already captured in?
That's captured in here.
So it's not, so that's already something we've approved.
Correct.
We're not doing another.
Correct, this is just year two of the payment, right.
Okay.
But the only thing is, and I absolutely will give you the comparisons, but it'll really look like his budget went up a real lot because the staff devices were not in the budget last year for that. So we bought them at the end of the year.
Right.
Funds, so I will have those numbers, but the majority of his increase are the staff devices, the kindergarten devices, and the switches.
But the contract we approved last year for year one of the leasing, that price rate is locked in for
Yes.
year two, which is
Correct.
good because
Yes.
prices are going up astronomically right now in
Absolutely.
this area.
Right, we bought it, financed it, and now it's just paying it out.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Mrs. Jelinski, do you want conversation, like discussion questions now, or would you rather us wait till the end?
Go for it.
So I'm a little bit hung up on the two devices for kindergartners. Just, can you give me a little bit, can you give us more, and it doesn't have to be right now. From where I stand, I'd rather our 5-year-olds get another recess than another device. And that seems like, we have $220,000 budgeted towards more equipment, and I know that's a lot of different things in there. But will we get a breakdown for
You're
how
totally
much for
gonna
the
get a
second
breakdown.
device for kindergartners?
Yep.
And maybe some reasoning, I don't know if Mr. Balone can talk to us more about that offline or whatever, that we're looking for to double down on devices
It's
for
about
our youngest.
65,000, just so.
65,000
for the kindergarten.
for like our youngest learners. It seems like a lot of devices.
Yeah, so we're not, the fact that we're buying additional devices doesn't mean they're going to be on devices more. So, we're
It's also not a one-to-one.
yeah, they're also not one-to-one. So it's, I think we're at a 2-to-1 ratio at kindergarten. And
It's about 200.
so
Because there's 6 locations.
we know that we can't get rid of iPads completely, right? If Chromebooks could do exactly what iPads can do and use all of the apps, we probably would advocate to get rid of iPads because they're a lot more expensive. But we know that we like to introduce Chromebooks at a lower price point for certain programs, but also keep the iPads that are working. We're going to phase out the ones that aren't working. So kindergartners will be using a Chromebook similarly to an iPad and use some programs on the Chromebook that they were using on the iPad. But there are some apps that are just Apple-specific, whether it be special ed or just certain apps in kindergarten, that we still need access to that Apple device. So we're not, because it seems like we're adding more devices there, we're really just diversifying the devices. We're not saying that kindergarten students are going to be on devices more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So for the iPads, about how old are those? How many years old are those devices?
They vary. We have different, so we could get you a breakdown on that. Zach's waving, he probably knows. 5 years? 5 years.
So potentially, hypothetically, some of those, even more of them are going to break, and if there is still a use case for them, we're going to have to replace those as well in the not-so-distant future.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I mean, are they close to they won't even take an update period, right? Like, yeah.
About a year or two left.
They won't
So-
even, and then those apps won't be compatible with the iOS system that's running, and they can't update to
Right.
those, right? Okay.
So, and especially with special ed, I mean, there are, when those iPads do go, with special ed, we will have to purchase iPads for special ed. Some of those apps are just.
Can we get a projected cost for what you're anticipating that? Because if it's only 1 or 2 years out, what that would look like, how many of those, are going to need to be replaced? If they vary, like about how much? Thank you.
Mrs. Rose, curriculum.
Thank you.
Also, what, and what's the process to sort of evaluate alternative solutions that if we want to phase out the iPads and go increase the usage of the Chromebooks, what is the comparable app that may be, a substitute for what the iPad was used for? And it may not be an absolute one-to-one comparison, but what's the process to begin to evaluate those apps that can potentially be
I know
used?
Mrs. Gross is looking at that now. If it's app-specific to iOS, obviously, there's nothing there. But if it's a web-based program where they're just accessing it on an iPad, easily done on a Chromebook.
Okay. Good? Okay, so the next slide is going to be security. So we're going to, one of the big things in the security budget this year is going to be the video surveillance system. We're going to work on changing memorials next year. This year, we're doing middles, and then next year, we're going to budget for memorial. We want to get the middle schools done first. We feel that's, and then eventually get to the rest of them. It's a new system. So.
And I'll just preface with, we'll leave out a lot of the specifics, right? Obviously, for safety and security and the reasons for that, we can talk about that in executive or, at committee level.
So this budget is going to support his ongoing maintenance systems, our emergency notification, our visitor management systems. This budget also maintains funds for the Class 3 officers in every building, the SROs, the 2 SROs that we have in the district, and then things he needs for the normal operation of security, supplies, backpacks, all the things he needs. So that's what this budget is focused on. This budget is increasing, Brian, it's only about $25,000. So, but I'll get you the real numbers once I have but his increases are due to two things. We are increasing our portion of the SRO cost. For many, many years, we've been paying $45,000, and going forward, we're increasing that to $90,000.
And that came, just so everyone understands where that came from, the chief of police reached out to me last year after our budget was struck, I explained to him, he had asked if we could do it then, and I explained our budget was already struck, but I promised him I would bring that to the board for this year, and here we are. So we appreciate what the Marlboro Township Police Department has done for us for many, many years. Thank you. We have one of their members in the back. And I fully support this. I spoke with the chief about it probably about a year ago or so, and I said I would certainly bring it to the board. We were certainly getting a bargain for what it was then at $45,000. I think it's still a bargain at $90,000. But I told him I would bring it to the board, and I know Mr. Lolansky always say security isn't easy and it's not cheap, and we understand that. But if we can't keep our kids safe, then we can't do what we need to do with our kids. So I support it, and I hope this board will as well.
And then the other increase in the budget, his budget this year, is the video surveillance upgrades. We had budgeted last year 80 for middle, and it came in at 110. So we knew that I had to put it up to at least 100 from Memorial's smaller, less than middle. So as you can see in this budget, the SROs and the Class 3s are the majority of this budget at 67% of the security budget.
Chris, can I ask you, I know over the years, and there was the law passed, but the tracking of students on the bus, like when they check in onto the bus, when they get off of the bus, if parents can track their location, would that be considered part of like a safety and security? Is there any move towards getting that, or, because it's been an on and off topic of when that could happen?
It definitely would be safety and security.
Right.
Transportation. There are programs out there that do that. We do not have one.
Yeah, we should hold off on that conversation
that
for
would
exec or
be-
for a security meeting, okay?
Well, that's just public knowledge, whether we have that program here, not how it works or anything. So I just didn't know what part of the budget that falls in. That was the question. What part of the budget that would fall in?
Yeah.
Transportation. It would be
Okay.
the transportation budget.
That conversation at Safety and Security Committee.
Yeah, and that was like a bill signed, so that's like law that schools are moving towards that, whether we have that or not, and the intricacies of it, that's not what I was asking. It was where in the budget that falls.
Yeah, it would be in the transportation
Yeah.
budget, but it would be discussed, obviously, with safety and security committee.
Are you also talking about considering bus arm cameras? The cameras that are on the outside of the buses for the students? I know in a lot of neighboring districts, they've put cameras on their buses. Is that part of what you're?
Mine was more about, like, I guess schools can do it differently. The swipe cards, when a child gets on the bus, a parent can be, they can see. It's like an air
It's like a
tag,
check-in,
but it's-
check-out.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Following your Uber.
What?
It's like following your Uber.
Yes. So, but yeah, that's another part of safety and security on that.
Any other questions on security? Okay, so those are the only ones we have today. So feel free to call me, email me regarding this, these two. The next meeting we will do is curriculum. I don't have to look. I'll let you know. I'll update you. But we'll do a few more departments next time. And you'll get the binders in February.
Can we, in the upcoming meetings, when we do these, can we have the comparisons and also, not just the percentages, the actual figures, like next to the things
Sure.
that you're saying what each one costs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
And Mrs. Jelinski, I know we've done this in the past, and you've been here a long time, so you know this, but I think it's fair to say if any board members have individual questions or want to meet with you individually,
Oh, absolutely.
you'd be happy to do
Absolutely.
that throughout this process.
Absolutely. You can do it now. You can wait till I have more numbers together, whatever you're most comfortable doing, but you can make an appointment, come in, and we can go through line by line. It doesn't matter to me. So.
Just one question in preparation for, wasn't covered here, but I don't know if something has to be kind of compiled before we have this conversation. Last year, we removed some coaching positions, not remove them, but change them around. Right. Is there any way that we can get, and not now, but maybe in like an individual meeting, how that went, and if you're looking to bring any of those positions back? And I know they just got shifted, they didn't get removed from, the district, but just how that went, what feedback you got, and if you're considering those positions again.
Sure, I can come back with a report on that. I don't want to speak without speaking with them or the administrative staff in that building. So I can certainly come back to the board with a report. But generally speaking, we know it's going well. But we'll bring some specifics back to the board.
Thank you.
To that point, can you also include sort of, and I know it may be harder because it's the students, but it's sort of, what's been the student experience?
Sure.
And then, Ms. Jelinski, if you don't mind, I know it may be more difficult, but if you have the PowerPoints ahead of the meeting, if you would be able to share it with the board before we
okay.
That'd be great, so that we have a chance at least just to look at it in anticipation, so that we can think through our questions as well
Not
for
a
you.
problem. I usually have them by Friday, so it's just with the beginning here.
It's also been a short time in the role, so I understand it, but if you could do that, would be great.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thank
I can
you.
do that. And I had Tricia helping me to kind of spiff it up a little. So Tricia was awesome. So she's a good resource. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
and, yep. Congratulations, I think, on your, second, no, this is your first one in your acting DA role, so thank you very much for doing that. Well done. Okay, our next item, Mr. Balone, is the mandatory hearing on district violence and vandalism report.
You may recall, we are required, per requirements, we're mandated to have 2 hearings per year. The following information applies to the first hearing, which is for the time period September 1st, 2025, through December 31st, 2025. There were 5 incidents of violence and vandalism for the first part of that school year. There were, more specifically, 4 of the 5 were classified as HIB, and then 1 was classified as a fight. So I'll come to you for the last portion later on in the year, right before we close for school, but this is our first of 2 required reports.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Balone? Okay. We are moving on to organizational matters. Ms. Balone, would you mind doing organizational matters? Oh. It's, you got it?
Yep. The superintendent of schools submits the following resolution for approval. 1, Open Public Records Act. I so move.
Thank you. Any discussions on this item? Any second? Mr. Lewandowski? Seeing no discussions, Ms. Jelinski? Roll call.
Okay. Mrs. Belomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carraro?
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Jankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lewandowski?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our next item, which is financial and business operation matters. Mr. Hyatt, would you read that, please?
I actually have, we have to remove numbers 9 and 10. The company that had bid on them has pulled out of E-rate. So 9 and 10 are being removed.
Okay, I won't read those.
Thank you.
Financial and business operations matters. Superintendent of schools submits the following resolution for approval. 1, receipt and acceptance of board secretary's report. 2, treasurer's report. 3, transfers. 4, list of bills. 5, travel. 6, HIB report. 7, 25-26 uniform state memorandum of agreement. 8, submission of fiscal year 26 local recreation improvement grant. We are not voting on 9 or 10. 11, approval of agreement with Turnkey Technologies. 12, approval of agreement with LightPath. 13, approval of ESEA carryover allocations from the 24-25 to the 25-26 year. 14, claims auditor, prepayment authority. 15, school business administrator consulting services and business administrative search firm. 16, amended resolution, board auditor. 17, renewal of contract, education data services for purchasing procedures for the 26-27 year. 18, home instruction. 19, tuition students for the 25-26 school year. 20, donation. 21, state contract purchase. I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Ms. Carrero, any discussions on this item? Mr. Lewandowski.
Sir, I'm having a problem with number 15 because I'm trying to rationalize the use of the $15,000 for this consulting firm and for the search firm. Quite frankly, I think Mr. Balone can handle it. I have my faith in Mr. Balone bringing the right person to us. I don't see why we need to send $15,000 to do this. I'm also not a big fan of a consulting firm for this purposes. We have the auditor we have every year. Looks at us, gives us flying colors, gives us the certificate every year. I mean, Vinny's gotten it every year. Cindy Barber, who got it every year before that, to bring someone in to try to fix something that probably isn't broken and spend $15,000. I'm having a hard time. It's probably going to be a no for me. That's what I got to say.
Any other discussions on that, Mr. Balloon? Do you want to? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. I apologize.
That's okay. I echo Michael's sentiments. I think $15,000 is pretty steep, especially after paying for a consulting firm for the referendum. I think that this is something that we can definitely handle. I trust Mr. Balone to do some searching and hiring and interviewing. I don't see a reason for spending $15,000. I also had a question on just, hold the phone. It was the special, oh, here we go. Number 18, I'm just curious. That's Middletown Township is sending a student here for our OHI program? That's pretty amazing. So it says a lot about the work that Mr. Cho is doing here, that other towns are now sending into our district for special education support. So I noticed that, and I just wanted to commend that, because that's usually it was like private schools, and now that a public school can do something like that and be supported financially, I think that's excellent.
Thank you. I agree with you on that, and that trend had started last year with the program. So it says a lot about what we've done in the last couple of years.
It says a lot about the teachers as well, so I want to make sure I commend them as well.
Any other discussions on any of the items in this one?
I just want to confirm, my opinion is exactly as Michael and Carrie had stated. I think I've made my position on extra spending on consulting firms, especially when we have the resources here and, internal candidates, and, our district has always run, since Mr. Carabello was here, completely comprehensive. Mrs. Jelinski, as we saw, took right over where he left off, and I just think that is $15,000 can be better allotted elsewhere, especially with the budget being so much higher than it was. So I just wanted to echo those sentiments. I agree completely with that. That would be a no from me.
Thank you. Mr. Balloon, would you like to add anything?
Just to add why the recommendations here, it's actually twofold, right? It's not just not a search firm for to find a new business administrator. I know historically we've used consulting firms, and actually the referendum is a good example. The referendum passed, so that's one example. A consulting firm was used to hire me. I was an internal candidate, so there was an associated cost there, and I appreciate the search, but the rationale behind using a consulting firm is analogous to, using like an advisory committee, right? So if we don't have an expertise in business office operations, which is the other piece of this cost, which is also, I think it's worth mentioning, it's not $15,000. It's not to exceed $15,000. So it may not be $15,000. In fact, I would be willing to entertain to say I will guarantee it comes under $15,000. So it's a not to exceed amount. So there would be a fee for the BA search, and there would also be, call it an hourly fee, or some kind of consulting fee for business office practices. I think it's a good idea to. So we had over the last 25 years, we've essentially had. Two BAs. And Mrs. Jelinski, you've been here for the entire time. So not to say that anything that Mrs. Jelinski is doing is wrong, because we know it's not wrong. The auditors would have found that. What I think it's important to do, it's probably before the 25-year mark, but we're at the 25-year mark, to explore some innovative ways in our fiscal times that we're in right now. Maybe we can do things more efficiently. Not that we're doing them incorrectly, but maybe we can do them more efficiently. And therefore, we may be able to save money. And if we can't, we can't, right? I'm not looking to do something, I'm not looking to cut corners and have audit findings, right? That's not what we're looking to do. Sometimes it's good just to bring a fresh set of eyes in to say, you know what, I've done this, and this, the gentleman who's behind this firm is a long-time BA in both Monmouth and Middlesex, large school districts as well, and handling a large amount of money, even larger than what we have in terms of our $100 million budget. I just thought it would be a good idea to explore some different ways to budget. And clearly, on the other end, again, not to take anything away from Mrs. Jelinski, but you know, I think in order for me to put my head on the pillow, we need to go out with an extensive search with committees and leaning on the, you know, I'll use an old term, but the Rolodex, right, or the candidate pool that is available to search firms is invaluable. Not to say, you know, not to say you're making a decision on who you're hiring right now, but I think you can, when you talk to all of our internal candidates who have obtained administrative positions after a thorough search, and I know every single administrator in the school district since I've been in the seat has gone through that rigorous process. And when they go through that process, they feel so much better about the position because they were, in fact, the best person for that position. So, you know, I feel like it's my duty to this board, to this community, to this entire school community to do a thorough search for our next BA. And I think a not to exceed $15,000, we've saved a substantial amount of money, over $100,000 on our salary breakage with our exiting BA and not hiring a new assistant BA. So I think in my head it was about $120,000 when you look at health benefits and salary. So $15,000, not to exceed $15,000 does not seem like a whole lot of money when we could get a lot of bang for our buck. And that was really the thought process behind it.
I hear what you're saying. I think there are just two little differences. The referendum did pass, but I think if there was like a pot of money, then the referendum was the better choice to hire a consulting firm. This is not, doesn't like rise to that level. But in regards to having a consulting firm for a superintendent, I mean, who else would find you? Because, I mean, the superintendent search, you're the top. So there's got to be someone to go out, funnel through the thing. That's really not up to the board. Whereas this is not, if you look at the schematic of where the positions lie, it's board super. So I think that the consulting firm for a superintendent is different than a consulting firm to hire a BA. And I like what you said about, you know, innovative ideas, saving money, budgeting, but at the same time, I mean, we send BAs to professional developments themselves. Like, could those be places they can find their innovative ideas, their, you know, their aha moments of, I didn't think about that, instead of spending it on a consulting firm?
You could, yes.
Okay.
There's plenty of professional development out there, yes.
Can you correct me if I'm wrong? It sounds like the recruitment part of this is an added value on top of him
Yes.
consulting for efficiency. So the ROI is going to happen on the first part of this, not necessarily second. So we don't have to hire a recruiter if we
Correct.
hire this firm, which can do both.
Yes.
So there is an added value here.
There is.
Thank you.
So I'm going to agree with Kerry because I was going to say that anyway. Someone said he can, someone else make. So I'm going to agree with Kerry because, and I've said this before, the superintendent search is completely different. You know, there's only one superintendent, and the superintendent can't help us look for a superintendent. So we need a search firm. We have you to help us, to bring us a BA, and I have put my total faith in you for that. For me, the $15,000, I'd rather put it towards the new Chromebooks than this search firm. And it's not about the search firm, it's about the concept. It's not about who it is or what it is, it's just about the concept of the search firm for me. So I'd rather see that $15,000 go into those Chromebooks you'd like to get.
I just want to say something too. There is a lot, we know, and I'm not going to, we know how much the superintendent makes. There is a large value, or his time equals money as well, where I'd rather him perform the duties of his job and expertise and allow, I think it's well worth the return on investment to allow him to continue running this district, making it, doing the things that he does, and also offers no bias, legitimacy, like that feeling of like, I did this. There's a huge value, even just morale-wise in that. So I just wanted to point that out. I think it's a value saving.
I have a couple of follow-up questions. School Accounting Services LLC, is that someone that you found, you met somewhere and found and brought to, is that, I'm just saying, has it someone we used before? Where did they come
It is nobody we've used before. It was actually, I came across this firm through my network of colleagues who have used this firm in other school districts. Actually, when we were going through the process of the acting business administrator, so other school districts in Monmouth County have used this firm and said, you know, you might want to talk to them. We've had good success. So I called, and then that's how I found them.
So they brought us the candidates, some of the candidates that were floated by previously
No, we haven't used them yet. This was me leveraging my colleagues in Monmouth County to just say, look, we're looking for an interim/acting BA. Does anyone know anyone? And then that's how it came to me.
So there's other districts in Monmouth County that have used this company?
Yes.
And then there was a lot of talking. So you had said that, well, everybody goes through this rigorous interview process, all the administrators, and then they feel better about the position. Has every administrator been hired with the assistance of a consulting firm in your tenure? Or
No.
No, not everyone. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm reading this, like, relates to productivity and innovative ways to enhance the operations of the business office. It kind of like reminds me of like, sorry, I'm gonna use an analogy of like, when I was learning to interview and things like that, and I sat down with my dad, who was a professional interviewer, and I would say things like, oh, I'm always on time, and I'm honest, and I stay, and he said, that's your job. Like, that's not nothing to like be proud of. Like, that's what you're expected to do. So I just don't know why we need a consulting firm to find a candidate who shows productivity in innovative ways when that's what I feel like their job is. And through the interview process, wouldn't we kind of be able to sort out who's presenting as innovative, who's presenting as productive, like through our interviewing questions?
So I think you're melding the two together. So the productivity and innovative ways of operating the business office is sort of the consultancy piece, the efficiency piece. The BA search is separate. So not necessarily saying we're looking for that kind of person. The interview process will kind of show us that. This recommendation for a proposal to not exceed $15,000 will give us two things. One, almost like an audit of our business office to say, you could do these things better. And then two is the search firm. So they're completely separate.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I'm just, if we're saying we're looking for an auditor to come in and say we can do these things better, then are we saying, like, what are we saying about the BA in general? Are they falling short of their job?
No,
So,
what I was saying was we've been doing the same thing for 25 years. And, you know, my experience both in the private and public sector is you should never be doing something for 25 years the same way. Because if you are, there are efficiencies that you're missing. And it's not a product of anyone sitting in the seat now, anyone sitting in the seat in the past. It's a product of time. And when you have a BA who was here for 20 years and then another one for 5, or so. Don't quote my years, but it's somewhere around there. You have 25 years of essentially the same thing going on. And Mrs. Jelinski will tell you, she's been here for both. The business office has operated in a similar fashion for the last quarter century.
So then if we hire somebody, are we looking to hire somebody to help with the current budget, or now we're going to hire someone to be innovative with 26, 27 budget?
Both, because they would help.
So then what would we vote on in March? Like you're
Vote
looking for
on.
someone to be innovative with our budget and our spending, because that's what the business administrator does. So if we're being presented at all these board meetings with numbers and fiscal responsibility and what we're voting on, and then somebody can come in then and completely say, you're doing this wrong, this is the way to be innovative, is that what, would
So-
we have a chance to fix it?
We would, yes, but so we're not doing anything wrong. Let me be clear. We're not doing anything wrong. What I
Or
see
stale.
more of is we know how to prepare a budget, right? I'll say it. Mrs. Jelinski has been preparing budgets for the last 28 years.
Right.
Right? They come from her.
Right.
They weren't always presented by her, but they came from her.
Right.
So she knows how to prepare a budget. That's sort of one piece of the business office. That's not business office operations. That's not looking at, purchase orders and how, can we do this better? Can we not do? The answer might be no, and that cost will certainly not even get to 15,000, right? If he comes in and says, you know what, you're doing everything really well, and you have some efficiencies in place, then we don't know what we don't know. What we do know right now is the last 25 years have essentially looked the same. So,
So
that's.
you're investing about 9% of that breakage into trying to achieve a much higher ROI out of operations, not the budget. At the same time, added value to
Yes.
help us recruit. So
I just
that
think
makes sense.
it's just difficult once we saw the slides that you so well presented about that the state is this, Marlboro doesn't get the money. Are we going to cut the budget? What does that entail? We have a referendum passed. The question is, are we going to need more money towards that? Healthcare, I would rather provide teachers and staff with great healthcare. $15,000 is a lot of money to ask right now on the onset of a budget being approved. That's just my thinking. Like, I'm just conservative that way. I just, like the Chromebooks, the iPads, for special education students, I mean, they might last another year or two. And like I said, health insurance for staff, I mean, they need that. It's just, I'm not saying it's not important, but if you're prioritizing, it's like, where does that fall within the priority list? They're all priorities. Where does it fall? Is this something that we can do on our own without sparing up to $15,000?
The short answer is yes. And I want to say thank you all for having faith in me, because if you didn't, we'd be having a different conversation. So I do appreciate that. Could we do it on our own? The second part we could. The first part, I would say no. Right? There's no way I can, or Mrs. Jelinski can bring in innovative, different ways of thinking outside the box with the business office, because we don't know what we don't know.
That's why I clarified that the second part's the value add.
Can you put your mics on?
I'm sorry, that's why I wanted to clarify that second part is a value add to the primary purpose of this agenda item.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, then, good.
But to me, it's sneaking in, I'm so sorry. It's like coming in on the coattails of needing a new BA. If this was value added, why here? Why now?
Okay.
Why on the onset of voting for a budget in 2 months? I get what you're saying, but I feel like we're using the BA position as a way to bring this in through the back door of $15,000. Like, why now? Can somebody tell me why now?
So
I'm sorry.
Let me let Mr. Lalansky go, and then Mrs. Balomo, and then we'll see if there's any more comments on this. But I also been holding back on sort of adding some thoughts on this.
Mr. Linsky, do the BAs get together with a roundtable ever? Do you sit with other BAs or other districts?
Yeah, we have a monthly meeting.
So this would be a perfect place to have your monthly meeting and kind of say, like, this is how we do this thing. How do you guys do this thing? And then next month, this is how we do this thing. How do you guys do this thing for free?
I mean, we have those conversations, but I think what Mr. Ballone is talking about is more of, the business office, as I know it, has been the same since, not the same. I mean, we adapted, we've changed, but I just do things the way I've always done them because they work. So what Mr. Balone and I were talking about is maybe, and there's other departments besides the business office, right? I oversee transportation, buildings and grounds, security. So maybe there's something that they can add that could maybe assist me. Or maybe not, but we could, I can explore it with them. If they're available, I can explore things with them, and then we can decide whether things are being done the right way or if there is something that I should change.
So I'm trying to just understand, up until when Mr. Caravello left, we would hear things like, this referendum is going to be great because we have such a great BA and we do everything so great and everything is planned, and I agree with all that, and we were giving raises and everything was great. Right? And our business administration office ran phenomenally. And now there seems to be a new need, and I'm really trying to understand it, and that's the need for the conversation, is what changed now that just a couple short months ago, so November was the vote, we based the vote and we based having going out for a referendum on the fact that our business administration office ran so well and we were going to be able to do all this. Is there a problem? Are we not able to afford things that we thought, or do we have to change things, or do we have to, I just don't see, the ends have to justify the means, and I just don't understand what 15,000 is going to justify, especially if part of this is we're going to bring in a new BA, or possibly whatever, and then, but before that, we're going to change the business administrative office, or is this putting the horse before the carriage, or do we bring in the new BA and we use their recruitment services first, and then we reassess the business office? It just seems like a lot thrown into one with a ballpark 15,000. What if they say, your transportation office is just miserably understaffed? We don't have the money to add more staff members, so that's a waste of money where I stand. And what if they say, oh, your security, you need 17 more units in one of your buildings? Well, we don't have the money, so that's a waste of money from where I stand. So I just don't understand what we're paying a $45,000 board auditor in the very next line item. We've all agreed, meeting after meeting after meeting. I think it may be the only thing we agreed on, that our business administration office runs fantastically. We've given raises when applicable to business administrators. I just don't see it. I don't understand what it's for, and that's what I would have to see before I voted yes, but I want to understand the vision, because if there's something I'm missing, but I'm just not seeing it at this point.
Any other comments from Mr. Balone? Do you have anything else you want to add? So I just want to share, and I appreciate it. I think this was a very healthy conversation. I guess, I have lots of questions and I have, some comments. I mean, firstly, I've, in various different positions I've had over the course of my career, I've always seen, not always, but sometimes when there's a leadership change, there's also an opportunity to do an organizational review. And that organizational review can sometimes be very in-depth and sometimes it can be very superficial. But sometimes they're helpful. And I've been, the subject of some of those organizational reviews, and you get defensive. So the fact that, Mr. Linsky, you're not defensive about something like this is actually very welcoming, because sometimes, having that extra set of eyes is helpful. I mean, I've had, just from my experiences to some of the questions that are raised, what are the value of something like this, is that, for instance, I've had people come in and say, you should go back and look at all of your maintenance contracts to see whether or not you still need the maintenance, or if you're still paying the maintenance on those types of items. You can either cancel it or negotiate a reduction in that price, or you can renegotiate with the purchase of new equipment, ideas for, folding that maintenance into a multi-year agreement with the purchase of the equipment. There's different ways of doing things. Sometimes there's just ideas that people have that are outside the scope of our day-to-day operations that we don't get a chance to either think about or even act upon. And that's where I find the value in some of this work. I do think that, I read the resolution for two ways. One was that efficiencies or opportunities. I didn't read it as if it was finding fault or problems with the way in which the office is operating. I found it sort of, finding ways in which there is a roadmap for maybe doing things differently that would enhance the district overall, not necessarily just your operations. I rate it as budget, productivity, innovative ways to enhance operations. You know, I didn't necessarily read it as just about the business office. I didn't see this as as a negative in a lot of ways, and I respect my fellow board members' perspectives on that, some of this stuff that I think was very helpful to hear. But I didn't see it as a total negative in that regard. And you know, I respect the $15,000 concerns, and I look at that, and then I go back and I think about our budget, and we're about $103 million, and this represents what, 1/10,000% of our entire budget, which is not a lot of money in comparison to the whole. But I also, to Carrie, to your point, and please, if you don't mind, Carrie, I know you call me Carrie, only if you call me Brian. But to your point, there's a difference between sort of one-time money expense versus recurring costs. And some of the things I think you pointed out, like, you know, healthcare costs, things like that, those are recurring expenses. So we'd have to find the $15,000 in every recurring budget outside to sort of say that we're offsetting those costs in the future. This is a one-time expense, I think. I don't think you're proposing that we would be spending this annually. So these are just some of the things that I thought. I also, you know, and this is just from my conversations with our county BA when I met her in November, that there's a huge shortage of BAs in New Jersey. This is a highly sought position right now, or an area where there's a lack of expertise. And Mr. Linsky, this is no reflection upon you whatsoever. I've enjoyed working with you for the past year, and I look forward to working with you going forward. Right? So this is no reflection upon your abilities or anything like that. So please don't read into my comments in any way. But we as a board are charged with the responsibility of making sure we hire the best candidate for the position, which is why we do a search. Right? And do we think we need a consultant to do the search itself and recommend who the best candidate is? No, I don't. I think you're the best choice to sort of say, this is the person we're putting forward to make sure that we have the best candidate in front of us. And I appreciate that. So I think the search piece of this is interesting in the context of what is this consultant going to do in the context of a search? Because it's not clear. It just says, you know, conduct a school business administrator search. It's not clear to me exactly what they're doing. Are they helping to promote it? Are they helping us to write evaluate a rubric to help you evaluate? It wasn't clear to me what that scope of that service was, because I think if you had a rubric that you can use to evaluate candidates to sort of make sure that we're getting the most innovative, they're getting the most informed, the most experienced, whatever it may be, that's, I think, a real value add to us overall in making sure that you're evaluating the best candidates for the district. So those are just some of my thoughts. I'm just one person's perspective. I read this a little bit differently than what you've read it for, but I really appreciated the comments and the sharing of perspectives around the table. So I'm gonna just sort of pause there, see if there's any other comments, and if there's no other comments or there's any other discussions on this item, we can move forward with a vote. Any other comments?
That one question sticks with me, because I did sit here with the $40,000 consulting fee and then listen to discussions about how we didn't have enough money to print flyers once the designs were done. So if there is, so history doesn't repeat itself, we don't make the same problem. If we do vote yes to this, and there is the $15,000 upfront cost, and then they do recommend things that cost money, what is going to be, where are we going to get that money from? Because I just don't think $15,000 is worth it to say, make the form blue instead of pink. It's going to be real changes, and real changes usually, especially administrative changes, cost money. So $15,000 is the fee to give the advice. But once the advice comes, where do we, I don't want to be in the same position where we spent the $15,000 and then don't have the money to make the changes.
I just want to respond back to that, because I think that's a very valid point. And I've often had that problem, because as someone who's received lots of reports like that in my career and says, oh, great, I'm glad you tell me I can do this, but how do I do it? Where's the money coming from, right? And it is the most frustrating part of this whole thing. So first of all, to your point, I would like a report that the board gets that says, hey, these are the things we suggest the board consider, because that's our responsibility to think about how this has an impact on our budget going forward. And should we charge the administration to say, hey, you need to find ways in which we can phase something like this in, or we need to find ways in which we can afford to do something, or that's a really great idea, but we're never going to be able to afford that unless we find, Martians coming down with bags of cash, right? For lack of better, but sometimes we just can't do it. But I also think in whether or not whoever the next BA is, right, giving them a little bit of a roadmap as to where opportunities may be, that actually is a unique value add to anyone who goes into that position, whether it's Chris, whether it's somebody else. It is a unique opportunity for them to sort of get that. And that's just been my experience, and when I look at the pros and the cons of this. So I agree with you that, there's no way for us to figure out how we can afford it. We don't know what it is yet. But I also think that as future boards, they would want some sort of, perspective of what those things may be. Right now, the only thing we see is what we did last year. We don't necessarily see what we should be thinking about going forward. That's just my point of view, and just solely my opinion. Mr. Ballone?
I think that's a great point, and I wouldn't really want to entertain any additional cost to say, this is where you can become more efficient, but you have to spend another $50,000. That would be not on the table. In fact, and it kind of segues into, or at least harkens back to Mrs. Jankowski, your point about why now, right? So the why now is, I think I've shared this with all of you. Anytime we have a resignation or a retirement, I always ask myself, can we do this differently, right? So we had a resignation. We have, Mrs. Jelinski here is serving as our acting business administrator board secretary. Can we do this differently? Maybe. With this position in particular, that part of it I need help with, right? I've never been a BA. I would like someone to at least present some ideas to me that I can present to you that does not give us an additional burden of cost. And quite frankly, a lot of, I would say all of the times that I've made a change administratively, I don't mean with the administrative staff, I'm just saying make an administrative change, like things like reallocating staff. My biggest I have three sort of, three ways of thinking about changing. One is I don't want to increase class size, right? So when we're figuring things out, we don't want to increase class size. Two, I don't want to cut programming. And three, I don't want to send good people packing. There are school districts who say, sorry, teacher, you're a great teacher, first-year teacher, we can't afford you. We have to cut you. So if I can achieve those three things and be more efficient, that means we save money. We're not spending money. So any change that would be proposed, it's going to be a non-starter if we have to spend additional money. We're doing this to save money, to increase efficiencies. And to Mr. Cohen's point, it's a one-time cost that I would even, guarantee that it comes in under $15,000. Like I said, it's a not to exceed, and I'd be willing to sit down with this firm to do that. But again, I think we've had a lot of discussion about it, and I appreciate the discussion about it. Could I do it? I could. I could do the search piece, no problem. But if you ask me to go in and look at business office operations, transportation, food services, and do an audit and figure out where we could do things better, that's out of my realm. So I would say I would not be successful doing that. Could I be successful in finding our next permanent business administrator board secretary? Absolutely. It just, it's going to divert some of my attention. I could do it though.
So just to follow up, because I want you to have the resources that you need, but if you can find the candidate, is this something that you would consider revisiting once the BA is in place, the permanent BA, and then doing this consultation with whoever is going to sit in that seat, whether it be Mrs. Gillespie or whatever it looks like, just instead of putting the horse before the carriage, let someone settle into the position. Because just to break it down to layman's terms, how I'm understanding you, because I'm really trying to get there, is, you know, if you said you brought in an interior decorator when you knew you had no intentions of redecorating your house because you couldn't afford it, and you said, tell me everything I can have, but at the same time, there was really no problem with your house to begin with. So that analogy is kind of like layman's terms for, we've all agreed multiple times that our business administration office runs really, really well, and I'm sure these consulting firms, we all know, they're brought in to find problems. They're going to find something somewhere that ideally you can fix if you hire another firm or another person or one of their consultants to come in and do it. And maybe that's what we need. But can we put the horse before the carriage and hire? If you can do that part on your own, would you be open to bringing this in at a later date after our budget is kind of more fluid and you see what the salary is going to be of the new administration and where else they're going to have an assistant, if it's going to be, what it's going to look like?
Yeah, we could, I could certainly do that.
I was thinking the same thing, because I feel like you can hire somebody and then they're like, I can't do any of that. Whereas if you have the person in place and then bring the auditor, they can work together on what this is going to look like. I feel like it's like a shot in the dark right now. It's too much, it's too many unknowns. Or even if you're like, I went to a superintendent's meeting and then I heard this school spends this. So even if you came to us with this and said, these are the areas that I know we can cut down, and I just don't know how. But it's just, we need like a consulting firm on this. It's just too open for interpretation right now. I don't really know what I'm voting on and what we're getting.
I have a yes or no question. That's it. Did we meet the do not exceed limit on the communications firm?
From what I understand, Mrs. Jelinski can confirm, we spent exactly the amount.
Exact amount. And it was successful, and we made a lot of money off, extra from the state.
We didn't make any money.
No, wrong terms.
It's your call, because it's, I think it's a good compromise. It's, it's recognizing that there's opportunity, but at the same time, it's recognizing when does the opportunity sort of, so the question would be, do we keep this item on for vote? Do we table this item for a future conversation?
Yeah, I think, I'm doing the math here. It's not going to pass, right? So, but that, right? So that wouldn't pass. Mm-hmm. But regardless of that, I think I do like Mrs. Bellomo's suggestion to look at it. It's not a no right now. It's no right now, but it's not a no. And could we look at the piece that we really need assistance with at a later date? We could. And could you task me with finding the best candidate for the BA position on my own? Yes, and I can do that. I'm telling you that, and I will. I've already put together my plan, so it's already started. Yeah, I'm confident I can do that piece with no issue. But the other piece, I would be certainly willing to revisit. So if we want to table it, I'm completely fine with that.
And I appreciate that, because you don't know, maybe you start interviewing your internal candidates, external candidates, and someone blows your mind, and they already have a plan of how they can make things better, and you come back to us in 2 months and say, I don't need that consulting firm. But if you do still feel like we need it, and the new BA or BA, whatever you want to say, still feels like we need it, then that's something I would be more open to voting yes for, I think, if you really assess it and say, hey, I think we still need it.
So do we need a motion to table this?
Yeah, so this should be a secondary, this should be an alternate motion.
Motion to table number 15 should be made.
Right, so we need a motion to table number 15.
I'd be happy to make that
Can
motion.
I just amend that? Because it's a motion to table number 15 to a future date as determined by the superintendent on the scope of necessity. Then I will make the motion. Motion to table number 15 All right, item number 15, for a future date to be determined by the superintendent as deemed necessary based upon the conversations and discussions tonight by the board. Seconded by Mr. Delancey. Any discussions on that motion? Roll call for the alternate motion.
Okay. Roll call for the table. Okay, I'm just going to start. Ms. Palumbo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero?
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Jankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lalansky?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes. Okay, so now we have the original motion
1 through 8, 10 through 14, and 16 through 21.
as amended. The original.
Correct. Yeah, that's, yes.
The original item on the agenda, as amended, will be for items number 1 through 8,
Mm-hmm.
11 through 14, because 9 and 10 are off,
11 through 14.
11, that's it.
11 through 14, and 16 through 20.
21.
21, 16 through 21.
And I hate to do this, but I have a little discussion over one more thing. It's very short. On number 20, we have received several emails to our board email about the reorganization of the scope organization. And I know that we have a policy that requires some documentation of board members' names and bylaws. So I'm just asking because we were made aware that there was some resignations and some changing. Have we gotten the documentation that their full board is sat and that there's actually a president and everything else before we accept the donation?
I actually do not know, but I will find that out and let you know.
Okay,
I'm
thank
not
you.
sure. I'm sorry.
Okay, on the original motion, the amended motion, do I have a second?
Oh, we already have.
We have a second on the issue?
Yeah.
Motion second.
We're through with that.
Yep.
1
Okay.
through 8 for the original motion.
Then we are going to go through roll call.
Okay. Mrs. Carrero?
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Jankowski?
I'm going to say yes, but for number 20, I'll abstain because I'm not privy to any emails that went back and forth and what that question is about, so.
Okay. Mr. Lalansky?
Yes.
Mrs. Belomo?
Yes to all and abstain to 20.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to the next item, curriculum matters. Carrie, would you mind doing this one?
The superintendent of schools submits the following resolution for approval. 1, 2026 extended school year program, ESY. I so move.
Thank you. Have a second on that, please? Ms. Carrero, any discussions on this item? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, okay. Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Jankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lalansky?
Yes.
Mrs. Belomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes. Moving on to the next item, personnel matters. Mr. Lalansky, would you mind reading this one?
Sure. Personnel matters. Superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, resignations. 2, employment secretarial personnel. 3, employment instructional assistants. 4, employment kindergarten basic skills instructional assistant. 5, employment bus drivers. 6, reassignment and amended salaries certificated staff. 7, amended hours and salaries non-certificated staff. 8, transfer certificated staff. 9, sick leave withdrawal. 10, stipend additional duties, confidential accounting administrative assistant. 11, stipend mentor teacher. 12, amended stipend mentor teachers. 13, extracurricular activities advisor. 14, curriculum amender rise coach. 15, student observation. 16, student practicum. 17, student teaching. 18, amended substitute rate non-certificated positions. 19, amended substitute rate bus attendants. 20, substitute bus drivers. 21, substitute school monitor. 22, substitute secretary. 23, paid medical disability leaves. 24, 8 unpaid leave of absence. 25, amended resolution leave dates. I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Ms. Bellomo? Any discussions on these items? I'll just point out on number 5, employment bus drivers. I'm glad to see that, in the spirit of the fact that we've had challenges in the past of hiring new bus drivers, I was glad to see that there were 2 new bus drivers added to this. So thank you very much for the efforts of the Transportation Department.
Yes, we were very excited about that.
That's my only conversation. It's great, because I know that this has been an ongoing challenge for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Which well exceeds, my previous year. So, okay, seeing no other discussions, Ms. Jelinski?
Yes. Mrs. Jankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lalansky?
Yes.
Mrs. Bellomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carraro?
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the school ethics and code of ethics presentation. Mr. Gross has asked if we as a board would agree to, and I think it's a good idea, that we postpone the ethics training until next meeting when we have a new board member, so he doesn't have to do it twice.
I agree.
Okay, I assume I don't need a motion on that, we can just move forward. Thank you.
Just tell you to do your homework. Read number 1, A through J in preparation.
Okay, so next item is the policy development and community relations matters. Ms. Carrero, would you do this one, please?
The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, code of ethics. 2, approval of the 2026 to 2027 school year calendar. 3, first reading. 4, second reading. I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please, on this? I need a second. Mr. Hyatt, thank you. Any discussions on these items?
Are we removing?
Yeah.
Hold on. Mr. Hyatt, then Carrie.
Well, per the last discussion, are we removing 2535? I think it requires a lot more discussion.
Thank you for that question.
Okay.
Is that your question as well? And was that your question
No,
as well?
I have a discussion about 2422 for second read. I had some questions about that. But
Okay.
I agree with we already had the discussion on the first read ones.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Right, so I think the appropriate way to handle 2535 would be, do we table it, or do we just vote no on it now and then bring it back?
You could table it. Well, you don't have to even move it. With the mover and the seconder agreeing that you're basically doing number 3, 2530, and
9130.
That's all you're doing. That's not the issue.
However it works
Yeah,
procedurally.
your motion is for number 3,
2530?
2530, and
9130.
9130 only.
Is-
You're not even having that on the table.
Does that satisfy
has
the
questions.
comments, the discussion?
Yeah.
So we are going to hold on 2535 to a future date. Okay, and now, Carrie, you have questions on 2422.
Right, so I know you're all voting because it's a second read, and I wasn't involved with the first, but I just wanted to talk about the concerns that I have when I read this version of it. Also, I don't know how it moved through the process. So, number 5, dating violence education, right? It is the statutory, okay. I'm just curious of why dating violence education begins in grade 7. We're like 11-ish, right? Around grade 7 through 12. I just feel like it's like a developmental, in my opinion, developmental, okay? To me, that's just violence. It doesn't necessarily need to be capped at dating violence at 11 years old. Number 12 and 13 and 14, sexual assault prevention, stress abstinence, and suicide prevention. I was just questioning why there was no grade levels when all the other ones had grade levels. Number 17, number 19, other statutory or administrative codes, the board will incorporate into its health and physical education curriculum any other requirements of the NJSLS. I just have an issue with the word will instead of possibly may, because I don't know about agreeing to putting something into the health education automatically without reviewing it. So committing yourself to a will is locking you in to future, almost giving up future discussion that you may not find it appropriate, whether it's developmentally, community-wise, whatever it is. So I wasn't sure if there was a discussion of the word will and the words any other requirements. It's not certain, it's not possible, it's any other, so.
All right, I'll go from backwards forward. So number 19, the problem I think we would be presented with is if we say may, we're saying to the Department of Ed that we're not going to teach all of the standards, which is which is a place we got stuck in the CUSAC process in the past. However, what I will say is I like that it says comprehensive health and physical education, because we would just, if we had any sensitive content, we would provide the same opt-in, opt-out ability to any of that content that we deem to be either inappropriate at that grade level or sensitive information. So the fact that it says comprehensive health and PE, it allows us to do that. And we're still operating within the provisions of our requirements. So that's that one. I can't, maybe Mr. Gross can help us with numbers 12 and 13. I know that's attached to statute, so they probably just don't have that in the statute, I'm guessing.
I just, again, not to bring back bad history here in other districts, but this is a Strauss Esme M policy, meaning that says it's mandatory, which meaning that they're saying that it's predicated on the statutory language, and therefore it's a requirement to approve this policy as written. That doesn't mean that they're right. We learned that in the past, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're correct when they say that. I don't know for a fact, but I have to only assume, as the superintendent just stated, that those paragraphs that don't have the grade requirements is because the statute doesn't have it, where on those others, the statute did have it. I can't confirm that because I haven't looked at the statute, but I assume that's the reason.
So does that give us purview to put it in any grade we want? Like, if you're just like, oh, we're gonna, I mean, I don't know, we're a K to 8 district, so it's a lot for me in some instances. But let's say stress abstinence, you want it to only be in the 8th grade. Is that under our jurisdiction, and that's why they don't have grade level, or are they saying it should be every grade level at some point? I mean, I don't know.
So I think, so for number 12, it's a little different, right? So number 12 says that the Commissioner of Education would develop this, right? So development of sexual assault prevention education program by the Commissioner of Education, so school districts can use it. So I would say from that piece, we could choose where we cover that in that grade level. And then the same for number 13. Because it doesn't have a grade level, I actually like that, because it gives us the ability to check the box, but we could put it in 8th grade. And
I agree with that, yes.
I would also say we would put it in comprehensive health and comprehensive health. Therefore, those parents who don't want us to teach that can have the option, and those parents who do want us to teach it can have the option. So I think I'm kind of happy that it doesn't have the grade levels the more I think about it and read it, because it gives us better local control, and it also provides for the greatest level of parental input and the ability to have their children receive the instruction or not. You know, if it's in another subject area, it becomes a little more difficult. So I would ensure that it gets that we can choose the grade level, and it would be most appropriate in comprehensive health.
I just, Mr. Balone, there was a reason why this was, there was a conversation, I believe, about this before, when it went from first read to second read. There was a slight change to it, I believe, from the last. What was the last, that change that the board said was minimal?
So there was, we've remained consistent with a singular pronoun, his or her, versus they. So when we're talking about one person, we say his or her. And then that was really the change.
Okay. And then to the other part, it's just a pointing out for us all, is just that, the page 3 of 4, the first full paragraph that starts with in accordance with, that's the opt-out, which still allows parents, if they disagree with any of this content, that they have the ability to still opt out. And we are reinforcing that in this policy.
We are. And just to kind of bring us back, I think Mrs. Paloma had a question. So if you look at page 3 of 4, the paragraph under number 19, where it says in accordance with, right? On the third line, the last 2 words there say his/her. Before it said they, but we're talking about a singular child. So that's just consistent with what we've done in all of our other policies.
Okay, thank you.
I have just a couple follow-up questions with this policy. There's some things that we don't agree on, like the definition of local control and NJDOE oversight, and the shall versus may, and when we have to use it, when we don't, and that's fine. I do know, and I'm sure everybody else who knows, that there is potential for the opt-in, opt-out to go away under our new state leadership. When that happens, if that happens for certain topics, this policy will stand as is because we just brought it to the table and voted on it. How do you foresee working that hypothetically into this? Because some of this language, if that change goes into effect, I would not be comfortable voting as to this policy. So would we pull the whole policy again? Would there be a separate policy? What is your plans to address something like that, which we know is a real potential?
It's a hypothetical, from my perspective, it's a hypothetical situation that I don't know how to plan for, other than the fact that right now we have it in our policy that says we will continue to uphold an opt-out process and a procedure and the will and the rights of our parents to weigh in on that. And unless, in fact, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gross, but unless, in fact, the state says it is illegal for us to allow for opt-out, we have the authority as the board to sort of continue to honor an opt-out.
Yes, of course, and this is only a policy. So if the law changes, you then have every right, and you may have an obligation to change the policy. But you may have either an obligation to change the policy if the law changes, which makes your policy inconsistent with the law, or if the law changes to the point where now it's optional for what you need to say in your policy, and you don't like the way your policy is currently drafted, you can always change your policy. So the board doesn't lose its ability to change or modify policy even within the same calendar year. Or
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, to Carrie's point, some of those words, as we all know, I'm not trying to sugarcoat or dance around anything, but those little words hold big meaning, and if certain things change, especially with certain statutes, may include as opposed to shall include or will include makes a big difference. So I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, but then my point is then you could always go back and change it to a shall instead of a may.
I'm just trying to understand.
If the law permits you to do that, yeah,
yep,
exactly.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this particular policy or for second read? Any other discussions on this item for policy development?
I just wanted to, number 2, the school year calendar, I just wanted to thank Mr. Balone for working with parents in the district to really come together for a comprehensive calendar. I heard from a lot of people that were included on the calls to discuss it that they really appreciated being brought to the table and part of that conversation. The calendar affects us all. So that was a really awesome change to kind of be a part of and see have happen. So thank you for including us in that conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you for participating. We had a lot of participation around the district, including PTOs, PTAs, CPAG, SCOPE, MEF, on that meeting that we had. I think everyone was in attendance there. Do you mind if I just share some of kind of the...
No,
I'll say
for the board to hear it.
The final changes. So we had a lot of discussion around different holidays and one session days versus not one session days and parent-teacher conferences. So, I'll just run through each month very quickly. So in September, we start out the year with students on 2 one-session days. It's a Thursday and Friday. And then Labor Day falls late. It's that 7th of September, which is the Monday. So, and then we're what I call off to the races. We have a pretty decent September with full days. So September looks pretty good. October is pretty typical. I think, so at this point, we took some feedback on will Halloween or the observance of Halloween on October 30th, even though it's on the 31st, being in the schools. That was a mixed response. Some say we like the full day. A lot say we like the half day, or the one session day, I should call it. We are going to make every effort. This came out of the parent meeting to make sure that parents don't miss parades, even if they're in different schools, or have a bottleneck with. We heard some feedback on the bottleneck of getting in and out of the parking lot for the parades and the parties. So I'm going to be working with the principals on a plan for that. November is, we have that full first week off, right? So plan your vacations now. That should be a nice time. And then it's typical right before the Thanksgiving break. December, we reverted back to parent-teacher conferences for the first week in December. Again, a lot of discussion around that. I even actually went out to the full staff and asked for their preference, and I gave them 4 different options, and all of those options had responses attached to them. However, this first week in December, the status quo, historically when we've had conferences, was the majority, but it was less than 50%. So we had a lot of discussion around that as well, but it has reverted back to the first week in December. January, it looks similar to this year, where usually we come back on the 2nd, but the 2nd falls on a Saturday, so we actually come back on the 4th, so it's going to feel like another long winter break. And of course, Martin Luther King Day is recognized there. February, we have Lunar New Year actually falls on a Saturday, so it doesn't affect our school calendar in terms of a closure. But we have President's Day, which is usual. March, we have a staff professional day on the 10th, and then we have our leading into spring break. We have a one-session day on Thursday the 25th, and then that brings us all the way through April 2nd. We actually, this was another point of discussion, because Passover does not align with Easter and spring break. They're separated. There was pretty healthy discussion around providing students and staff with a one-session day prior to Passover. And really the rationale was, because there was also a discussion back up to September 11th, not for the reason we all remember September 11th, but in September is the first evening of Rosh Hashanah. So we're not providing a one-session day there with a few things in mind. It's the beginning of the school year. We have 2 one-session days prior to that. We really want to create some consistency for our students. However, if we have any staff or students who need that, maybe an early departure for religious reasons, we're always welcome to accommodate that. So I've let them know that. The 21st, you're really preparing for more days if you're observing Passover. It could be 7 or 8 days, depending on how much you practice. So I've had discussions with local religious leaders, and that was kind of where we landed for that. So that one is a one-session day. May, we have a one-session day before Memorial Day. And then we have, I know the elections, that's always a big topic of discussion, but right now we have the 8th closed, and then we go into our one-session days toward the end of the year. Remember, we always have those grayed out days at the end. We've been doing that for the last couple of years. Those are contingency days if needed, if we run out of all of the other contingency days throughout the year. So worst case scenario, we're ending on the 25th, but we're really projected to end on the 23rd of June for that year. But again, thank you to all of the stakeholder groups. We had multiple stakeholder groups, and every one of those groups came with their own angle, and I think it was a good exercise in sort of like a shared leadership collaborative with the entire school community. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Mr. Malone, in putting on your HR director's hat, the September 11th date, I know that in order to, I know you said that you'll make accommodations as necessary. Will you at least, whatever efforts you need to do to just sort of communicate that out to the staff so that they know about it, and this way no one can say that they weren't aware of it?
Yes.
Any other comments or questions on this item? Okay, so we are voting on this item as amended, which means we are voting on it without the policy P2535, which we'll hold for a future date. The discussions have been had. We've had our move and our second. So we're up to
roll call.
Roll call.
Okay. Mr. Lolansky.
Yes.
Mrs. Belomo.
Yes to all, no to number 4.
Mrs. Carrero.
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt.
Yes.
Mrs. Jankowski.
Yes to numbers 2 and 3, no to number 4.
Mr. Cohen.
You're not voting to number 1? You said yes to 2
Oh,
and
sorry.
3. I just want to make sure.
I apologize. Yes to 1, 2, and 3, no to 4.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing that out.
That's okay. I just want to make sure we have it.
And Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, 4-2. Thank you.
Okay, on liaison reports, board members were notified today that of the liaisons, and I'm not sure if any of our board members have any reports to make for this. Great. So I'll just go around the table and we'll have regular reports with our next meeting. Is that okay with everyone? So Carrie, you raise your hand first. I'll just go this way.
So I was given CPAG as a liaison. Thank you. So thank you to Robin and Angie. Good to be back. CPAG's parent meeting was held on January 8th. Concerns and ideas from this meeting were brought to the January 12th meeting that CPAG co-leaders had with Special Services. This was the second quarterly meeting with Special Services of the school year. Please continue to check out CPAG's website and Facebook pages for additional resources and advice from other parents.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Jankowski? Nope. Thank you, Mr. Lonsky. Ms. Belomo, you said you had?
Yes. First, I just want to say thank you to Angie and Robin who are here. It was a pleasure being CPAG's liaison for the last year. I really enjoyed getting to see firsthand all of the work that you do and read about your updates every month. So thank you for always having those prepared. It was a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to my new role. I had served as the NJSBA liaison 2 years ago and really enjoyed that experience. I have already reached out to Tim. We've set up a conference call for this upcoming week. We're going to confirm our times, and I look forward to, jumping back into that position and serving the community as the liaison.
Thank you. Any other reports? Ms. Carrero.
I have both scope and MEF. So MEF thank you, Alicia. She just wanted to announce some upcoming events, which is Dine to Donate at Buffalo Wild Wings on the 28th, 11 a.m. to close. There's Kids Night Out at the Play Big Zone for grades 1 through to 5 on February 13th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. It is a drop-off event if anyone wants to go do something. Grants have been submitted and will be reviewed for approval. Save the date for the Wizards on April 13th. So 2/13. And then I have Scope as well. So thank you, Jess Piernick. Scope opened the grant cycle to staff this week. Submissions are due by February 25th. We're looking forward to our Scope membership meeting on Wednesday, January 28th at 7:30 p.m. Members will receive a participation link via PT board. Administration is also finalizing the date for Walk for Change, our biggest fundraiser of the year. The theme will be Be Kind, so get ready to buzz with kindness.
Thank you. Any other comments for Ms.
Yeah,
Porter?
I just have a comment. If Scope submitted a liaison report and you're talking to someone from Scope, do you know about the leadership? So I could have voted on the thing that I had asked about. Do they have a leadership team? Did they seat those positions? Who were you getting the report from?
Jess.
And who is she
Piernick.
In a role there?
Yes. We've actually met her at the last year. She came to.
Yeah, but she wasn't in a role. It was Mrs. She was that I just asked so I could vote accordingly if there was a new president because they had come and said there was no new leadership.
I'm unsure about that.
It just would have changed my vote if I knew there was a
I
president.
think, and you know what, in fairness to you, you asked the question, and I think, you know, Ms. Jelinski said she would get back to you, and I think that's a fair question. Who's writing the report and who's leading Scope? So we have to clarify that. And for you, especially for you, because you raised it, but for all of us.
And the other clarifying piece, correct me if I'm wrong, that you wanted to know that they submitted their
No, I
proper
just wanted to know
documentation.
their board. I assume they submitted their documentation because we voted on that already, but they don't have board members.
And
The
how
last
that's changed.
update. But I didn't, obviously, she said there's a president. That's why I would have obviously voted yes to a $100 donation. She just said that Jess. Okay, no problem. I just wish I could have voted accordingly, but that's okay.
Well, we can't go back and change the.
Oh, I know, but to get that response, you could still have your vote. It doesn't, like, we understand why you voted how you did.
Okay. Any other reports from liaisons? Thank you. I'm moving on to next item, which is old business. Any old business? Any new business? We are up to public comments. Round 2. Ms. Jelinski, since we have no one signed up, would anyone like to speak? Ms. McCormick.
Ashley McCormick, 16 Riley Road, Morganville. I just wanted to mention back to the libraries and the schools.
I'm sorry, can you just, I didn't hear that.
Sorry, just going back to the libraries and the
Okay, libraries.
the books in the school. Parents have options. They can literally sign right into Pay Schools and see what their kids are eating for lunch and for snack and create a report and immediately, like same day. It's really awesome. So I just think that if we have something like that, we should definitely be able to see what our kids are checking out and reading. And it would be awesome if it could be on the Genesis portal, but just wanted to kind of, I'm sure everyone who's a parent in this district knows that already, but it is definitely, if we can do that, we should definitely be able to see what our kids are reading. And then there was another question, and I didn't write it down. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak?
Hi, Val Mendez, Morganville. Just two quick things on a while back conversation that went on about the search firm. Just two things about innovative ways. I know people mentioned like roundtables and so forth. in my field where we have to come up with new ways. It is actually my job as the leader of the team to kind of bring that or delegate that to the team that I work with to bring back new ideas, make it a performance goal and so forth, to come with new and innovative ways. And another investment is within professional development, which I know you have some really great pro days for the team. I would say some pro days where people come in and actually get people thinking creatively is pretty cool too. So I would just say some of that. Another one on process improvement, which is actually a really cool thing to have, is something called Lean Six Sigma, which is a green belt, which is all about, and Mr. Cohen, I think you're in agreement, or you probably heard of that in your space or line of work as well. But that certification is all about getting rid of what we call waste, and that is actually teaching you how to take what you do today and find better ways and cleaner ways to do it. And it's actually a cool certification for somebody to have. People in my company go for that all the time. So I think that that's a really cool way to learn and to get that out there. Instead of investing in that, investing in ourselves and each other. So just putting that out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mendez. Anyone else want to speak? Mr. Pollack.
Good evening, Adam Pollack, Marlboro, New Jersey. Congratulations to the new board members. Excited for what you guys are going to do this year. I wanted to congratulate all of you on the referendum also. It's just kind of highlighted early on that you guys started, we got the funds in to the bank account, and it sounded like everything was on schedule, and that they're going to start doing work in the spring. So I think that's very admirable. I think it's a big win for the town. I think it's a big win for this board. I think it's a big win for the funds associated to the consulting firm that we paid, Laura Bishop. It was a success. We got the state funding. That was the goal for it to pass, and now the kids in Asher and Robertsville are going to get air conditioning. So I think it's a great outcome, and thank you all for supporting it. That's number one. On the phone stuff, I think that was a really interesting conversation everybody was having. I'm super supportive of everything you guys were talking about. I am not supportive of a phone ban in schools. I'm supportive of responsible phone usage and setting societal and community norms around that. Sounds like we're doing all the right things. One thing that I am passionate about is the phones on the bus. I think that there's probably some work we could do there around making sure that everyone's doing the right stuff and following the procedures that are set out in our policies for our district. So I think that I agree with the board that we're doing the right stuff from a policy perspective. I just think that we have to be, especially with everything that's going on from a technology perspective, the ability, wearables, different apps, different devices that are available, we have to be diligent as a community and know about those things and adhere to the appropriate policies. That's it. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Motion to close public comments? Carrie, second. Mr. Hyatt? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Public comments is closed. We are going into executive session. We will not come back out for any public business. We expect to be in for about 60 minutes. So can I have a motion to move into executive session? Ms. Jankowski, can I have a second? Mr. Lolansky, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, we are going into exec. Thank you very much, everyone.